and Talk Shoe. The draft game board is in front of me, and the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. They'll officially be on the clock today with a Giants win or a Browns loss, and I am predicting both. Spoiler alert. So, yeah, Joey, the Browns are on the clock. The number one player on my draft game and the number one player in my mock draft is Josh Rosen. Are we going to go with Rosen here at number one, or do you want to go in a different route?
We're going with Rosen. We're going with Rosen. It's come out yesterday that there is a major rift between Isaiah Crowell and the coaching staff. The coaching staff, I don't think they have as much faith in Crowell. Crowell is averaging 4.4 yards a carry, has only 750 yards on the year, but he only had 2 touchdowns. He's not making as many plays. Hugh Jackson says he prefers running backs getting the chip yards and wearing teams down. Crowell does that extremely well in spurts. Jackson said Crowell does it well for us, but Crowell is ticked off about the amount of carries he gets in the second half, which I'm not happy about it because I feel Jackson doesn't utilize the run game as much. But that does bring in Saquon Barkley because Crowell said he does expect to hit free agency this offseason. So while that does bring in another option, I don't see how they can't go with Rosen in this situation.
I agree. And since Ryan isn't on the call yet, I will be picking for the New York Giants at number 2. And we're going to give the Giants Sam Darnold because it's an interesting scenario. There's Darnold and Allen, the 2 quarterbacks they've scouted and shown a lot of interest in. They sent all of their scouts to the UCLA USC game. So that tells me they're the most interested in Sam Darnold. However, to say that they're going to go Darnold without scouting the other quarterbacks is just straight up asinine. They scouted Lamar Jackson versus NC State. They scouted Baker Mayfield when they scouted Sterling Shepard. So if Giants fans say, oh, they never scouted Baker, they haven't been to one of his games, that's blasphemy. I'm here to tell you that is blasphemy. So they have a better understanding of Baker than probably any other team because they scouted Sterling Shepard the year he was drafted. And that was Baker's first year as a starter, by the way.
Well, I am hearing that there are some scouts that like Lamar Jackson a lot better than they like Darnold. They say Jackson's inaccuracy is because of his steps when he's in the pocket. He doesn't set his feet sometimes, and other times he takes too long with a stride, which they feel is a lot easier to correct than Darnold's.
Yeah, that's what Matt Waldman said on his Lamar Jackson channel. Yeah. That's exactly what Matt Waldman said on his YouTube channel with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing is that what I've been saying all along is that Darnold has this long wind-up a la freaking Byron Leftwich. And that is extremely difficult to break a habit of, especially when you've been doing it 10 years. And scouts are wary of drafting him ahead of somebody with what is basically a very easy fix in step. It's like, for example, one of the things that they were able to fix in Cleveland with Deshaun Kaiser was he took a long stride when he threw, which caused the ball to basically go into the dirt more times than you would like. And it didn't fix the fact that he has a release point that sails the ball constantly, but it fixed that step. And what they did, they put a brick in front of him and said, all right, you take too long of a stride, you take a longer stride than you're supposed to, guess what? You're kicking that brick. Do you really want to be in that much pain or break your foot? Hey, fix that stride right up. So that's what they do. That's pretty much all they need to do with Lamar Jackson is put a brick there, tell them, hey, you want to break your foot? Good, go ahead, take that long stride. He'll fix that right up. Whereas Darnold, he's got that long wind up. So the question is, for the Giants, are they one of those teams that are concerned about the wind up, or are they one of the teams because it's where before the season started, Darnold was consensus number 1. Now he may not even be consensus number 3 with Allen coming out.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, Baker and Lamar won the Heismans. You've got Rosen. He might not even be QB4 as far as consistency goes. However, I do believe that the Giants will take Sam Darnold at number 2 at this point. That is subject to change, but right now at this point, my gut is telling me the Giants will go with Sam Darnold at number 2 because they sent all their scouts to watch him versus UCLA. This is a team that's been on the Darnold, Rosen type nonstop, so we're going to give them Sam Darnold at number 2. The Colts are up at number 3, and there's a lot of options on the board. The best player on the board on my draft game is Saquon Barkley. The best defensive player on the board is Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's number 4 on my draft game. The best offensive lineman on the board is number 5, Quentin Nelson. But if you want a certain player on defense, like a better linebacker, there's Roquan Smith at number 6, and then there's Bradley Chubb at number 7. And any of those 5 players would help the Colts drastically. The question is, which one of those 5 players are they going to end up taking, Joey?
I'm going to go with the most unlikely scenario, and one I think I put in my mock draft, because the number 1 priority for any NFL team is to protect your franchise quarterback. They did not do that with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck ended up getting hurt. They have not done that with Jacoby Brissett. Brissett just happens to be a very athletic quarterback with a quick release. He's done pretty well considering he's been under a lot of pressure. So I'm going to go, since a lot of the pressure has come from the inside, I'm going to go with Zach Martin.
You mean Quentin Nelson?
Yeah. Why did I say Zach Martin?
He went to Notre Dame too?
Quentin Nelson, yes.
Yeah, and this is an interesting debate we had because Bradley Chubb can play in the 34 as well. He actually didn't place his hand in the dirt on one play where he hurried Lamar Jackson, and so he can play in the 43 or the 34, but I think he's a better fit in the 43. Same with Garrett. And Quentin Nelson, Jack Mewhort, their starting left guard, who got on injured reserve as an impending free agent, and Nelson fits that need more. I mean, Tony Mario and I have been debating the Saquon Barkley versus Quentin Nelson because I have Barkley in my mock draft, but Tony pointed out, yeah, they could have a blue-chip QB and a blue-chip running back, but if they don't address the offensive line, their running game's not going to have any holes for Barkley to run through, and Luck's going to get injured again. So that's why he went with Quentin Nelson at number 3 in his mock draft. So
yeah, that's the same reasoning for me. It's like, I mean, it doesn't matter whether the running game doesn't matter, the quarterback doesn't matter, because if they're hurt or they're ineffective because the offensive line can't do anything, then they don't matter.
So number 3, the Indianapolis Colts select Quentin Nelson. I'm assuming at number 4, we go back to the Browns. I'm assuming we're going to get Barkley, and we're going to pair him up with Rosen in Cleveland.
And this is the thing. Cleveland has been scouting Baker Mayfield heavily. They have been scouting. So that was a thing for me with the Saquon Barkley, why I explained that earlier, was because that is now a real possibility. The whole thing is that we don't know yet. I mean, is this all a ploy by Crowell to try to get more carries? What's the situation? In that sense, we don't know. But either way, we still have Duke Johnson. We've got Days who's shown a lot of potential. So I'm going to go with Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Interesting. So Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Browns at number 4. He's the number 4 player on my draft game, and that is who I have the Browns taking in my mock draft at number 4 as well. So number 5, the 49ers. I gave them Quentin Nelson in my mock, but he's off the board. And never in my imagination would I have suspected that Saquon Barkley would be here at number 5. So that is who we're going to give the 49ers since Ryan's not on the call yet. And that means everyone in the top 5 who is in the top 5 of our draft game went in the top 5. So, yeah, that means it's a great draft so far. Number 6 is the Chicago Bears. And we're going to stick with the script here. We're going to go Roquan Smith out of Georgia. This linebacker is something else. He is a very special player on tape. Just does everything you want your linebacker to do. And he can resurrect that run defense for the Chicago Bears. Number 7, Bradley Chubb. He goes to a team that fits him perfectly here in Tampa Bay. And with him, it's just an easy pick for Tampa Bay because they're last in the NFL in sacks. They have been for most of the year. And once Noah Spence comes back and is at full health and you have Chubb with Spence, this pass rush is going to be something else. And if the defense can stay healthy, maybe Tampa Bay can finally put everything together and contend in the NFC South division. So those are the picks. So everyone in our top 7 is off the board through 7 picks. And the Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock at number 8. So what are your thoughts so far on this draft? Pretty much everything we expected at this point, but the Bengals are on the clock at number 8, and they probably need an offensive lineman.
Yeah, the Bengals, I go with Mike McGlinchey. There's really no other way to go in this one. Best offensive tackle in the draft.
Yep. And number 9, it brings us to the Denver Broncos. Now, I could pull some fuckery here and give the Broncos Josh Allen, but I'm not going to do that. You pick for the AFC teams, and Ryan's supposed to pick for the NFC teams. So with Baker Mayfield on the board, I'm guessing we're going to make Ryan happy here, and we're going to go with Baker Mayfield. We're not going to make his life a living hell and go with Josh Allen, are we?
No, I know they like Josh Allen. They've been scouting him, but at the same time, let's be realistic. It's, Baker Mayfield's a superior prospect. We've got to give him Mayfield.
All right. So all of the top 9 players on the draft game are off the board through 9 picks. And we get to the New York Jets at number 10. And the best player on my board on my draft game is Lamar Jackson. However, they're another team that's shown a lot of interest in Josh Allen. Could this be where we see the first reach in the draft, Joey? Or do you think the Jets take Lamar at number 10?
I think the Jets take Jackson, quarterback. He's an excellent prospect, and as we said, the big thing with him is his footwork. Correct it, and you're going to have a pretty darn good quarterback.
I agree. That's a great point. Number 11 is the Washington Redskins. We're going to go safety. We're going to go Derwin James here. And this is a player that just fits what they need to do, what they need to correct. And I think he is an excellent prospect for Washington at number 11. Number 12 is the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to go Josh Jackson out of Iowa. This is a player that the Cardinals can get. They can pair him up with Patrick Peterson, and he has just had a career season. So I'm going to go Josh Jackson out of Iowa for the Arizona Cardinals at number 12. So far, everyone in our top 12 is off the board. The Raiders pick at 13, though, and they have their choice of 2 middle linebackers. They can go at Tremaine Edmonds, the 6'5", 250-pound linebacker that has 102 total tackles, or they can go at Rashaan Evans, the athletic linebacker out of Alabama, who mocked the Raiders. And I had Evans in Oakland for weeks, but I moved Edmonds ahead because he reached that 100 tackles plateau. He's projected to run a 4.5 40, and he has some good athleticism. But I think as far as pass rushing goes, I think Evans is the better pass rusher. But I think as far as coverage and versatility and technique and tackling, I'd give the advantage to Edmonds. But you can't really go wrong with either linebacker in this spot. And the Raiders might not even take a linebacker. It's going to be interesting to see what the Raiders do at number 13 here, Joey.
Yeah, I've had the Yeah, I've been juggling back and forth with the Raiders for a while when it comes to which linebacker it takes. I know they've got to take a linebacker. They've neglected it for a couple of years. They've got to do it. So, I'm going to go. I've been going with Evans for a while. The more I think about it, I don't think they go with Evans. I think they go the other way.
Yeah, I have Tremaine Edmonds in my mock. So is that who we're giving the Raiders?
Yeah, because that was just something that I think they go Edmonds, at this point. I'll have to look more into it, but I think they go Edmonds right now.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins at number 14 are another interesting team. This is a weak interior offensive line draft. That's what the Dolphins need help at. And their secondary actually looks pretty good after watching them against the Patriots with Xavier Howard and Tankersley. I think they're set at corner. Their safety play could be better, but Mark Andrews at tight end, the John Mackey Award winner out of Oklahoma, who has declared for the draft, I have him actually going to the Miami Dolphins at 14. However, if he returns to school, he could go in the top 10, but he might also lose. There also might be that drop-off without Baker Mayfield. So he's smart for declaring at this point. But I think the John Mackey Award winner would be the best pick to replace Julius Thomas. I really don't see any other team needs or fits in this first round. But what are you thinking at this point, Joey? I mean, the Dolphins are a tricky team to evaluate here. Kenyon Drake's played well at running back, so I don't think they go the running back route like Tony Mario or Ryan Romero has been saying. I don't think they go that route. I think Mark Andrews is probably – but you're picking for Miami at 14. This is one of the toughest teams to figure out, in my personal opinion.
They are one of the toughest teams to figure out, but here's the thing. They haven't extended – their quarterback. They haven't got Jay Cutler.
And I do have a higher grade on Josh Allen than I did. Yeah, I have a higher grade on Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming than I did Ryan Tannehill coming out of Texas A&M. I had an 88 on Tannehill coming out of A&M. I have an 89 on Josh Allen. I moved his grade up from an 87 to an 89 after his bowl win. So I now have a higher grade on Josh Allen than I do Ryan Tannehill. So it is a business. We love what Tannehill's done for the city of Miami over the years, but they have an opportunity to get someone who's better than Tannehill, and they just can't pass on that.
Yeah, I've always been a supporter of Tannehill, but if he has not gotten him over the hump, so even if they resign him for 1 year, or re-sign Cutler for 1 year, I can see him going Allen here.
Yeah. The Arizona might be picking at 11 with Washington at 13. So Josh Jackson at 11 to Arizona. Number 12 was Oakland. They took Tremaine Edmonds, and Washington took Derwin James. I might have to reorder that in the draft game after the show, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Number 15 on the clock is the Chargers. And the best player on – I had Josh Allen at 29 on my draft game, but he is off the board. So that means the Chargers at 15. This is the first controversial – well, I don't know if the Chargers even need a tight end with Hunter Henry's emergence. They could get Andrews and pair him up with Gates, but I don't think they go that route. I'm thinking either Christian Wilkins or maybe they go Ronnie Harrison here. I'm not sure what they would do in this situation, Joey. This is an interesting dynamic. This is where we start to see a lot of the reaches on the draft game.
Yeah, just give them the best player on your board of adult.
The best player on my board is tight end Mark Andrews. The best defensive player on my board is Wilkins.
Well, whatever doubts you have, you can't go wrong with talent.
But I don't think the Chargers would grab another tight end after getting Hunter Henry, even if they move on from Gates. So we'll give them Wilkins because that's a more realistic scenario. And that leaves us at number 16, the Green Bay Packers. Yes, we could give them Mark Andrews. Yes, they did release their tight end. But Lisa pointed out how the Packers need to go defense, and I agree. So we're going to go LSU corner Dante Jackson. He's someone I watched on tape, someone I came away really impressed with, and he is the best fit for what the Green Bay Packers want to do at number 16. The Ravens are on the board at number 17. The best player on our board is Mark Andrews, but the best overall defensive player is Rashaan Evans, who could also be an upgrade over Kamalai Correa. And the Ravens do love taking players out of Alabama. And you pick for the Ravens at 17. So what are you thinking in this scenario, Joey?
Well, what I'm thinking is that the Ravens are extremely difficult to pin down right now. They need a wide receiver. They need a little bit of help on the offensive line. They need a lot of help at the linebacking position. They need some help on the defensive line. They have needs everywhere, but a lot of them aren't as glaring as others. So it's difficult to say at this point. I know who I want. Let me pull it up here. Oh, that's nice, computer. Just slow down on me. Okay, I'm going to go with a guy that has shown huge potential. Not to sound like Donald Trump by using huge too much, but huge potential no matter what you think of it. And that guy right now is Anthony Johnson from Buffalo.
Awesome. So if Anthony Johnson declares, he's going to be top 15 pick or top 17, top 20 pick. But if he goes back to school, he's wide receiver number 1 in 2019.
School, I would give him Calvin Ridley because, as you said, they love taking Alabama players, and Joe Flacco cannot go through another season with what he's working with now.
It sounds like he may go back because I said he'd be a first rounder this year, but a first rounder in 2019 if he goes back to school, like maybe going in the top 5 like Corey Davis did 2 years ago coming out of the MAC. That's sort of what I see with Anthony Johnson as far as the outlook goes. And he retweeted that. He hasn't made a decision yet. It sounds like he's leaning towards returning, but I don't think he's made an official decision yet. So we're going to give the Ravens Anthony Johnson at number 17. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is that works. You know, and if he is back and we do it again, it'll probably be Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. If he does go back and we do this draft game again, the pick will probably be Calvin Ridley. So, yeah, I had Anthony Johnson at 30 on my board, but he could easily, if he declares and James Washington Miller both had bad weeks in Mobile, Anthony Johnson's the guy that's in the driver's seat to be the number 1 receiver taken. So, yeah. He really is. So, number 18, the Detroit Lions. I'm picking for the Lions. Eric Ebron has an expiring contract, and the Lions really do need a defensive tackle. But you know what? I'm going to piss off all of their fans and give them Mark Andrews to replace Eric Ebron. I'm going to go the Matt Millen route. Wide receiver, tight end, playmakers, wide receiver, tight end. I'm going to go the Matt Millen route and give them Mark Andrews at number 18 because he's the best player on the board, and Ebron's got an expiring contract. And I know that giving the Lions a tight end is going to piss off all of their fans. Yeah, that just happened.
It might. It might. It might not.
So I gave the Lions tight end Mark Andrews out of Oklahoma. He was the best player on my board, And I just felt like, you know what? Everett's a free agent. Screw it. Let's give him a tight end in the first round. So some Lions fans are going to feel a little bit uneasy after that. But you know what? It never hurts to go with the best player on your board. That brings us to number 19, the Seattle Seahawks. I mocked Bryce Love in this situation, and since Seattle's pretty stacked at linebacker, they have a pretty good defensive tackle situation. We're going to go with Bryce Love here, and this guy just feels like a great fit for Seattle. And then we've got the Dallas Cowboys at number 20. I do have Clelin Ferrell in my mock draft. However, a lot of Cowboys fans have been telling me they might re-sign DeMarcus Lawrence and start Taco next to him next year. So if that's the case, they don't need to take a defensive end. And Ferrell's the third best player on my board. The number one best player on my board is Rashaan Evans. Number 2 is Daron Payne. And I wish Kerm was here to provide us his insight, but we're going to go with Rashaan Evans for the Cowboys, and we're going to wish Kerm a Merry Christmas because he's the best player on the board. Maybe that was a foolish.
Kerm's the best player on the board.
Maybe that was a foolish decision taking Rashaan Evans over Clelin Ferrell, but the Cowboys feel like a team that needs a linebacker just as much as a defensive end, and if they keep DeMarcus Lawrence, they're more inclined to go with a linebacker. So Rashaan Evans at 20 was a good pick. Moving on to Tennessee, though. Tennessee Titans at number 20. They are in a tricky situation, Joey. They've got the best player on the board for the Titans at this point is Daron Payne. They could draft him as a nose tackle if they wanted to, but they could also go with Ogbonnia Okoronkwo as a pass rusher. He's my top 34 outside linebacker. I have officially moved him ahead of Arden Key this week. And I moved another player ahead of Arden Key, too. So Arden Key's dropped from 1 to 3 in my outside linebackers on my draft game. I haven't done the outside linebacker rankings yet. I will compile them in 2 weeks. We'll go over that on January 7th. But what are your thoughts here on the Titans' outlook here at 21?
Yeah, the Titans, right now, if you look at them on paper, they're a great team. If you watch them live, they're not that great a team right now. They need a lot of pieces. And as much as anything, they need talent. It doesn't matter if it's raw talent that's going to need work, whatever talent it is, they need talent. And so I'm going to give them probably the most raw, one-dimensional talent, but probably one of the best, a top 5 athlete in the draft. And I'm going Arden Key because I do like their coaching staff, and I think they can develop them better than the Cleveland staff at the time, which was a mess that developed Berkevius Mingo, who is somebody who I compare Key to quite often.
Yeah, I moved Arden Key down to 37 on my draft game. The Titans fans are booing this pick, but oh well, they have to deal with the consequences. And the Buffalo Bills at 22, I'm guessing we're going Daron Payne here.
Like me anyway.
I'm guessing we're going Daron Payne out of Alabama to replace Marcel Darius for the Buffalo Bills at 22. Best player on the board. Fills a need. Kyle Williams is a free agent too.
Well, I actually, in my mock draft, I had Maurice Hurst because Williams was already gone. And I like Hurst in that situation in Buffalo. But at the same time, Daron Payne's the best player, so I've got to go with Payne.
And he plays the same position as Hurst. So that's a bonus for Buffalo. Number 23. 23 is an NFC team. I believe it's the Atlanta Falcons. We could go with Clelin Ferrell. We could go with Ogbonnia. We're going to go Ronnie Harrison out of Alabama. It just makes a lot of sense. And 24, we're going to go another wide receiver. We're going to go James Washington. We're going to get Cam Newton a weapon here. And that leaves us with the number 25 pick, which the Bills own. They could get Clelin Ferrell, and they could bring in competition for Shaq Lawson because he is the best player on the board. However, they could also go with Texas cornerback Holton Hill, who I'm very high on. I feel like you're going to play devil's advocate. Maybe you'll give the Bills Oliver to pair up with Tre'Davious White. I'm not sure what you're going to do with the Bills at 25. This is an intriguing team, but they went with Daron Payne here. So that first pick, now what are they going to do to build on that?
Yeah, I've got a few options with the Bills. The one player that is still on the board that I had early two players I had in my top 13 are still on the board. So I'm going to give them Isaiah Oliver, who I had number 13, quarterback out of Colorado.
Even though I have a very high second-round grade on him, I don't criticize this pick because he had a bad game versus Darnold, but he kicked ass versus Rosen. So, sort of cancels out. That does. Number 26 here is the Jaguars. And I mocked Anthony Miller at wide receiver because the Jaguars receivers have just been getting dinged up. Hearns is injured. Marquise Lee's injured.
Some of these injuries, and dinged up is not the way to say it. This has been a massive issue. But at the same time, these guys are going to get healthy. So one position that is healthy that's not helping them a whole lot is tight end. Is Mark Andrews on the board? Or
I drafted him with the Lions.
You gave him to the Lions. Oh, yeah, that was that thing with that stupid little mess that you created there.
Yeah.
With the smart thing.
The smart thing would have been to give the Lions a defensive tackle and then allow the Bills to get Hurst, but I complicated our draft game because I thought it'd be funny to have a Matt Millen moment where the Lions took Mark Andrews because he's the best player on the board in that situation.
Because you're an asshole.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of Lions fans like Jeff Hensley and Chris Robbins from Lombardi's Draft Talk will say the same thing, knowing that I passed on Payne or Hurst at the defensive tackle position with Hlodinata retiring for Mark Andrews. Because some people have Dallas Goedert out of South Dakota State as the number 1 tight end in the draft. I have him all the way listed as a 4th rounder, but he could rise up. He could be a pick for Jacksonville at tight end. They could go with Adam Brenneman at UMass, but those guys are reaches until we see them dominate in Mobile. But what are you thinking for Jacksonville here?
Well, you hurt me with that one. But Jacksonville is probably as complete a team as they have been since their founding.
Yeah.
That being said, Jacksonville has a little bit of leeway here. They can take the best player on the board, and nobody's going to say a word to them. So, saying that, I'm not going to go with middle linebacker as much as I want to. I'm going to go to the offensive line. The offensive line is much better this year, but can still use upgrades. I'm going to give them Ben Swallow, whatever.
Bo Ben Swallow, the guard for Wisconsin. He's a pure right guard, but he's a good pick here for Jacksonville. The Jaguar fans are booing the pick because he's lower on my board than usual. It's not a sexy pick, but you know what? It's a good pick in my opinion. It's a pick I'd probably give a B grade for.
It's an excellent pick. I mean, could you see the holes that he would create over there for the running game?
For Fournette. He would. He would create.
Do you think Fournette would be like, Jag fans would be booing? Fournette would come over the loudspeaker, and yes, if it could be in Jacksonville, maybe not this year, but in many other years, because Shad Khan has put in a petition to permanently make the NFL draft in Jacksonville, which I would freak out on. So, you could see Fournette going over the loudspeaker saying, "Hey, I ain't gonna get my ass beat every week. This guy's awesome. Get off his back." So, and that would make guys fans say, "No, I'm starting Mr. Fournette." Now everybody loves the guy because Fournette, but step off kids. So, yeah, I could see something like that.
Yeah.
So,
the Rams are on the board. I'm going to give them Chukwuma Okorafor, my number 2 offensive tackle. And we had McGlinchey at 8. We've got Okorafor at 27 now going to the Rams. And then number 28 with the Saints, we're going to go Clellan Ferrell. He's my number 243 defensive end. And I did not think he'd be here at 28, but he is. And this is an interesting dynamic because now you have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 29. And the best player on the board is Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, but he's a 34 outside linebacker. They've got Dupree. They've got Watt. They did cut Harrison yesterday, but I don't see them taking Okoronkwo for depth because of that. The next best player on the board is Holton Hill out of Texas. He has character concerns. He did get suspended. He had great games on tape versus Washington and Alan Lazard, which is the biggest reason why I have a first-round grade on him, but he also did get suspended from the team. The rumor has that he had failed a 3rd drug test, so I don't think the Steelers would take him. I don't think they would take Hurst because they've got Tui, they've got Hayward. So this is a tough situation for Pittsburgh here. With Martavis Bryant stepping up versus the Patriots, I don't think they go that route. So Harold Landry's on the board, but I don't think they go that route. They've got Connor. The best 2 offensive tackles on the board are Connor Williams and Orlando Brown, and they could take Mason Rudolph to groom behind Ben too. That's another possibility.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Mason Rudolph is the type of quarterback that will survive in the AFC North. Even the Browns, when it comes to defense, they've got some guys that'll hit you. And Rudolph is, everybody says Baker Mayfield's too small because he's 6'1". Well, what about Rudolph? I mean, guy looks like a beanpole. I mean, he doesn't have much fat on him. He doesn't have much meat. He get hit up in a meat grinder there. Now, the guy that I've been trying to find a place for the last 20 picks or so that you've had this, and haven't been able to find it yet, is Orlando Brown. And I think the Steelers would love to have him. He is a strong offensive lineman. He can play the right or left tackle. He has some development that he needs to go through. He's a bit of a waist bender. Needs to, get upright. Steelers got a great coaching staff. I mean, he could be an absolute stud for that team.
He could. And Orlando Brown is off the board. The Minnesota Vikings pick at number 30. They are in an interesting situation here, but they will go with Maurice Hurst out of Michigan because they need that defensive tackle with Sharif Floyd set to be a free agent. Number 31, the New England Patriots. Apparently, they're playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl, but because the Eagles have a better record, they're the Super Bowl winner according to Tankathon. That being said, if the Patriots and Eagles met in the Super Bowl, it would be just like the Season 3 finale of NFL Big Brother, which featured the Patriots and the Eagles playing in the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens here, but the Patriots...
And guess who has the pick that leaves you helpless?
You do.
That would be me.
Yeah, so we got the best player on the board is Ogbonnia Okoronkwo. He's at 34 outside linebacker, but he can also play inside linebacker. In fact, the Senior Bowl has him projected as an inside linebacker simply because he's so excellent in coverage, but he's 17 tackles for a loss, 8.5 sacks. Kind of reminds me of a better version of Kyle Van Noy. He's the best player on the board, but they could also go with Holton Hill. I have Ogbonnia listed as an edge player, even though he's got the coverage of an inside linebacker. He's 6'1", 241. Not sure he's the type of player Belichick's going to spend a first-round pick on, but I do get a Willie McGinnis vibe with him. So, what are you thinking here?
I'm just going to let you speculate for the moment because
Holton
I
Hill.
don't want to tip my head to anything because I was really thinking about giving him a 7th-round pick.
Holton Hill's my next best player. He could be a corner if...
I'm going to give him a guy that I have seen a bit of here living in Florida. I like him. He's giving me mixed messages all year. He's someone I think that the Patriots would love. I think he can do a lot of things for them. And I think he's multidimensional. And he's a guy that doesn't have injury issues or character concerns. I'm going to give the New England Patriots I've actually got a high 2nd-round grade on, but at this point, number 31 doesn't really matter much. Tavares McFadden, cornerback of Florida State.
Unreal. I have Tavares McFadden at number... I mean, I'm not happy about this pick. It fills a need with Malcolm Butler being a free agent. It fills a need, but I have him at number 56 on the board, which is the lowest grade. We passed on allow me to rant about the corners we passed on. We passed on Jair Alexander. We passed on Holton Hill. We passed on... Okay, go ahead. I'm done.
Character concerns. These are things that I think Bill Belichick's going to try to avoid at this point. And when it comes to that, I've got this guy is super athletic. You know that anybody coming from Florida State, no matter what you think of their skill set, they're going to be extremely disciplined. They're going to be extremely conditioned. They're going to be extremely hardworking. They're going to be somebody who you can do a lot of things with. We know how Belichick likes to use this guy. Right? Cornerback, he could be a punt returner. He could come in and do some crazy things like, hey, you're fast, you're quick, you got good ball skills. We're going to put you in a slot receiver for this formation or for this play. Special play here. They can run them on special teams. They can do a lot of things with them. McFadden's one of those guys where Belichick would be like, you know what? We've got this guy, 35th, 36th on our board, 40th on our board. I can do more with him than I can Holton Hill, and he'll be a lot more receptive to my coaching than Holton Hill would be with his character concern.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
And be better than what I can with Holton Hill, because Holton Hill might be more difficult to deal with than McFadden will be. And McFadden got a more very skill set than Holton Hill does.
I don't know.
Jair Alexander, he's been injured off and on for the last 2 years. He's barely played this year. I love his skill set.
The Patriots could also go with Denzel Ward out of Ohio State, but Denzel Ward out of Ohio State is 5'10". McFadden is 6'2". And when Belichick compares the two, he's going to go with McFadden in that situation.
Yeah, so you see where I'm coming from here, Chris, with this take on why McFadden not only fits, but the situation, because you have to realize the situation often dictates draft position. It's not always the best player as far as skill goes, but it may be the player who has a wider variety of skills who can help their team more in more areas. And that's something I think McFadden can help a lot of teams in a lot of areas. And that's something Belichick loves. He does not like these players that are sit down, okay, I'm in this position, I can only do this thing. I'm great at this thing, but I can only do this thing. No, he wants guys who can do multiple things, go multiple places, run multiple areas, be in great shape, do it well, and not ask, well, why do I have to do this? And whine and cry about it. And McFadden will do that for you, Chris. That's why I gave him this pick, because McFadden fits everything Bill Belichick loves in a player.
All right. I guess I can live with it because it's a cornerback, but I'm not the happiest camper about the pick, but it might be a pick I learned to get on board with.
The reasoning is sound.
It is sound. I'm not going to lie. It is sound reasoning. Colton Hill has off-the-field concerns. Jair Alexander's injury-prone, and Denzel Ward is 5'10", compared to McFadden at 6'2". So the reasoning is sound. When you put it into perspective like that, the reasoning is sound. That being said, the Philadelphia Eagles at 32. You might hate this pick, but I'm going to give them an offensive tackle. I'm going to go with Connor Williams out of Texas to round out the first round, because he's a guy who has the best foot speed, but he lacks the strength to maintain blocks. And somebody like Jason Peters can show him the ropes, maximize his ability, and he can become a great offensive tackle in the system. And they can start him out at left guard, because they did release their left guard at the beginning of the year. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really don't hate this pick. I do have problems with his strength, and I'm not sure how that's going to translate unless Peters comes back for a year to give him time to work on his strength. But overall, it's not a terrible pick. It's just you have to wonder, you know.
Yeah, this is the thing I said with Connor Williams. A lot of people still have him as offensive tackle 1, but the thing is he doesn't maintain blocks for 5 to 7 seconds. One thing I learned about when I was younger is temporary touch, lingering touch, and constant touch. I apply that to blockers when evaluating their tape, and with Williams, I get a lingering blocker vibe. I don't get a constant blocker vibe like I do with McGlinchey or Okorafor or Orlando Brown. I get a lingering blocker vibe. That being said, he has the best foot speed in the draft. And if you can make him a constant blocker, you're going to be getting a steal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like I love everything about him except for his strength.
And he has short arms, too. Like, I watched his tape at Coppell High School. I noticed he had really short arms, so that might not translate either.
Well, if that doesn't translate, then yeah, because there are ways around that, techniques around that, but you still want them to have longer arms. Now you brought up, I'll reserve judgment on that until
the combine,
when we get an actual measurement, and then we'll see. Because if I always like my offensive tackles to have 35 to 38-inch arms. I don't like this 32, 33. Like, I can live with 34. But ideal is 35.
All right, so before we get to the Browns pick at 33, let's look at the players that made the second round who we had first-round grades on. Ogbonnia Okoronkwo is still the best player on the board, followed by Holton Hill at 22. Anthony Miller at 26. I'm almost certain you're either going to take him or Darius Geis at 33. And then we've got Harold Landry at 28. So those guys made the second round. So 28 out of 32 first-round picks on our board got selected in the first round. And that being said, I'm going to see what Ryan's doing. And if not, I will pick for the Giants in the second round.
Okay, I got one more piece of pizza left. So you go get Ryan, and I'll eat my pizza.
All right. Yeah, we already did the first round. I just messaged Ryan, and I'm fairly certain Joey's either going to go with Anthony Miller or Darius Geis, but he is eating that last piece of pizza. So we are taking a very brief but temporary intermission from Draft Utopia, which is a rarity, but it's a rarity nonetheless. And just like to mention how awesome Harrison Smith was in that Vikings-Packers game, delivering a Festivus shutout against the Green Bay Packers for the first time since 1993. But, yeah, we'll see what ends up happening here in this second round, because a lot of movement, a lot of pieces, and there's a lot of good players still on the board here. As far as the Giants, though, I'm probably going to go with, I don't know what I'm going to do with the Giants yet, and I don't want to tip my hand, because Joey could be listening while he eats his pizza. And I don't want to tip my hand. That's a very good It's a very good strategy, though, not to tip my hand while Joey eats his pizza. But if I were to guess what Joey's going to do to start round 2, I would guess he's going Anthony Miller or maybe one of the other wide receivers. Maybe Ridley, maybe Kirk. I'm not sure which guy the Browns are going to take at this point, but I'm going to let Joey break down the logistics for that as soon as he's finished with his pizza, because I got a feeling he's either going to go with a wide receiver or he's going to take Darius Geis. Oh, wait, you went with Saquon at number – wait, no. You went with Minka at 4. That's right. Saquon went to the 49ers at number 5. That was a gutsy decision to pass on Barkley for Minka, but it paid off because Geis fell to the 2nd round. And Nick Chubb's there too, so.
Yeah, and there are a couple – remember, the Browns have 3 second-round picks. And there are some skilled players in this 2nd round that I really like.
There are.
So,
and there's 4 first-round talents on my board, too.
Yeah, and I really don't know the order for the 2nd round. So you're going to be – well, I had an idea for the 1st round. I didn't know anything about the 2nd round. So when you call –
Tankathon has the order up for the first 2 rounds, and Tankathon automatically updates their draft order each week. So I can just get that info through Tankathon, and I can remember who's picking where.
Well, I'm happy that you have a great memory, because this is an absolute dream for the Browns right now. Because for me, we have at least 3 receivers, maybe 4, left on the board that could be effective that we could take in the 2nd round. We have 2 or 3 running backs to be very good running backs and take in the 2nd round.
Yeah, Anthony Miller, Jake Wienecke, Kirk, and Ridley are my top 4 receivers on the board. And all of them would be awesome fits for the Browns here.
And now I'm going to break down a few things. The Browns right now, everybody's saying, can you trust Josh Gordon? Can you trust Josh Gordon? Right now, Josh Gordon looks, I mean, you can tell he's clean.
This is what Dorsey said about Josh Gordon. As long as he's committed to the Browns, we're committed to him. That's what John Dorsey said about Josh Gordon. So it sounds like he's going to get 1 more year.
Well, here's the thing. The Browns get 1 more year with him. You can tell he's sober because anybody who's been around a drug addict knows that those things make you skinny as crap. Josh Gordon has a filled-out face compared to when you see him when he was with the Browns previously, because, when he had his face was, was a little bit in, looked like he was a little bit dehydrated. He didn't have any body fat. Now he's got that body fat. You can tell he's clean. And where he would never say anything against anybody, whether it be teammates or anything, he was just kind of passive and stuff. He is stepping up in the first 4 games, and he's saying, look, we don't have the guys to compete. We don't have what we need to get things done. And he said this publicly. He didn't name any name, but he said, we need more people. We don't have it. He is engaged. So when people say, we don't know if we can count on Josh Gordon, if he stays like he is right now, he will be the best wide receiver in football by next year. He is engaged. He is ready to go. And so I don't think you worry about that. Corey Coleman, I didn't think he was the number 1 receiver. After seeing him play the first year, I was like, this guy's got dynamic number 2 receiver running all over. Dynamic player, downfield threat. They were asking him as the number 1 receiver, go over the middle, do this. But he doesn't do that stuff well. You give him downfield routes. You give him routes where he is crossing across the middle where he can get into open space by using his speed. You don't ask him to sit down in the middle of the field. You don't ask him to do all this stuff like they were, because he's going to catch that ball and he's going to go straight to the ground. And that's what he was doing. He was getting 6-yard gains. There was nobody in front of him. He was getting on the ground. He wasn't going to take that hit. So now you got your number 1 receiver. You got your number 2 receiver. You've got your quarterback in Josh Rosen. What do you want to do with Josh Rosen at that point? You've got a good offensive line. He's just starting to gel, really get together. They started gelling about game 5 or 6, and they're really starting to show a little bit that they're getting together because, they had a lot of changes this year, and Joe Thomas going down the middle of the season set that back a little bit, but even Durango is starting to settle into his left tackle role. He's doing pretty well with it. So how are you going to give these guys the best chance to win? Because one of the things that we've all seen is that they don't get enough big plays, and they give up too many big plays. And that's an issue. And I think that you really have to look at what's going to give them the best chance to win. And at this point, the guy I think could potentially give them the best chance in that scenario is somebody who will probably be here for the second first-round pick. At the same time, the best player is somebody who is a first-round pick that fell to this point. So you go here and reach for a guy who may fit your system better, or you take the best player on the board. In this case, I'm taking the best player on the board. And I'm going Calvin Ridley. It's not the ideal pick, but it would give Josh Rosen 3 big targets, 3 guys, put Ridley in the slot. That makes matchup nightmare. And that's something that I don't think there's ever too much of a strong matchup. And right now, that creates a strong mismatch in favor of the Browns.
Yep, the New York Giants are on the clock here, and this is an interesting pick. I really want to go with Winicky, but I'm just, you know what? I want to go with Anthony Miller because he's my number 1 receiver on the board. My only thing is like, you've got Sterling Shepard. You've got Odell Beckham. You know what? Both of those guys are 5'11". I don't think the Giants put as much emphasis on size as they do technique when it comes to their wide receivers. We're just going to go Anthony Miller without overthinking this. And that brings us to the Colts. It brings us to the Colts at 35. Best player on my board is Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, the pass rusher out of Oklahoma. I did mock them Marcus Davenport at a UTSA, but Ogbonnia is the best player on the board, and I have a first-round grade on him. So I would think this is a slam dunk pick after taking Quentin Nelson in the first round.
What did you say? Sorry, I kind of zoned out. I was thinking about something.
Ogbonnia Okoronkwo is the best player on the board, and he's a 34 outside linebacker, and this just feels like a textbook Colts pick for your team at 35 here.
I like Okoronkwo. I'm not sure whether I should take him, but I'm going to go ahead and take him because I think that the Colts need to do The Colts need both offensive line help. They need defensive line help. They need pass rushers. They need playmakers. So that is something that we can't dismiss. So
okay, the Patriots are up next with San Francisco's pick. Does that mean I get to pick for them, or do you still get to pick for the Patriots? I'm sort of confused here, and I would like some clarity, because if you want to pick for the Patriots, go ahead. Harold Landry is on the board. If you want to get another pass rusher, he's still on the board, and he's a local, so he would fit well with New England, but there's other players still on the board as well. What are you thinking with the Patriots here at this point in the second round? Because they got the Niners' second-round pick from the Garoppolo trade.
Yeah.
We already gave him a corner, so they're not going to hold him.
Their all-purpose cornerback in the first round.
Yeah.
So I think they do need a lot of help in a few different areas, and that's the situation I'm looking at. And I really think they could use a big play wide receiver, because I think Tom Brady is far more capable of making bigger plays than he has this year.
Yeah, well, Winiecki's on the board, Kirk is on the board. Anthony Miller's gone, but Winiecki and Kirk are both still on the board.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Christian Kirk.
And Christian Kirk to New England it is. He reminds me a little bit of Edelman, and he is such a natural route runner, and he fits perfectly in New England's system. And if he goes to a team with a veteran quarterback, whether it's the Patriots, the Packers, or the Saints, even the Giants, Christian Kirk will thrive in that environment and be a huge steal on the draft. We've said it before in our wide receivers podcast, but I love that pick. Next up, I think it's the Chicago Bears. And the Chicago Bears, they do need a wide receiver, but they're the best player on the board. They also need cornerback help. And the best player on the board is Holton Hill. So we're giving the Bears Holton Hill because he's the one of two players with a first-round grade on the board, and because it's a great value pick. And if Mitchell Trubisky doesn't have any weapons to throw to, that's tough shit. I've just doomed Mitchell Trubisky, and I'm proud of it. That doesn't make me an asshole, does it, Joey? That doesn't make me an asshole. That doesn't make me an asshole that I've doomed Mr. Trubisky.
You're an asshole anyway.
All right, moving on. Let's take a look at the Buccaneers. They need an offensive tackle help. We're going to go Archie Lewis here. He can play all 5 positions on the offensive line, and they can keep Donovan Smith at left tackle without pissing him off. They can bring in competition for DeMar Dotson, who's a free agent at right tackle. I think Lewis is talented enough to beat out Donovan Smith for the left tackle job, but I could also see Tampa saying, oh, we didn't take a left tackle in the first year. Let's just keep Donovan Smith here and develop our right tackle, and if he sucks, then we'll just draft a left tackle in the first round in 2019. I can sort of see the Buccaneers saying that, and Archie Lewis is the best lineman on my board, so we're going to go Archie Lewis to Tampa Bay here. That leaves, I believe that leaves the, so yeah, we had the Patriots at 36, 36 or 37, and then we had the Bears at 38 and the Buccaneers at 39. I believe that leaves the Denver Broncos on the clock at number 40. We'll check Tankathon really quickly. I'll double check Tankathon right now, but I'm pretty certain the Broncos are on the board. So I'm going to check Tankathon. I'm going to load that really quickly just to make sure we have the right team picking. I believe, yeah, Denver is officially on the clock here. They pick at number 40, so we're 39 picks through this thing, and Baker Mayfield on the board. The only right tackle worth taking at this point is Brian O'Neill out of Pittsburgh. So, yeah.
Sorry, you kind of lost me about 5 minutes ago under that.
The Broncos are on the clock at number 40. The Buccaneers just took.
Oh yeah, they go O'Neal. It's no question. O'Neal is a late first-round prospect, in my opinion. They need offensive line help. In fact, in my mock draft, I have them taking an offensive lineman. So they drafted a quarterback. They need protection for him. Hit O'Neal.
Yep. Next up at 41, I believe is the New York Jets, and then the Bengals would be at 42. So the Jets, they just took Lamar Jackson. I gave them LSU center Will Clapp because I think Clapp has the tools to be a Pro Bowl center, but at the same time, I could see you going a different route here. The Jets need offensive help, and Clapp is the best offensive player on my board at this point. All the receivers that we had high grades on are, well, Jake Wienecke's still there, but do the Jets go Wienecke and get a weapon for Lamar Jackson, or do they get him some protection? They have never replaced Nick Mangold, and I just feel like Will Clapp's the safest bet. But it's your pick, and we'll see what the Jets do here.
Yeah, the Jets are a team they did a great job of overachieving this year, but in the end, they need some help. They need a lot of help, and they need it in a lot of places. So, in that sense, who did I give them in the first round? Do you remember?
Lamar Jackson.
That's who I thought I gave him. And he's going to need a big receiver because his accuracy is not where it needs to be at the moment. So I'm going to go with the same thinking I went with the Patriots. And I'm going to give him probably the best receiver at making the spectacular catch in the draft. I'm going with the huge-handed, long wingspan, and overall just giganticism of Auden Tate out of Florida State.
Auden Tate out of Florida State is the selection here. Even though I have Auden Tate at 50 on my draft game, this is an excellent pick for the Jets at 41. And that leaves us with the Bengals at 42. I have my top two safeties on the board are Deshaun Elliott out of Texas and Jordan Whitehead. Elliott's shown the versatility to play both strong safety and free safety. He has declared for the NFL draft. I'm not sure if he's a sophomore redshirt or a junior, but his coverage on tape is superb. But I'm not sure you're going to go Deshaun Elliott. Maybe you'll go Whitehead because the Bengals don't really give a crap about character concerns, and Whitehead's projected to run a 4.3 40 time at the combine. But Elliott and Whitehead are the top two safeties on the board for Cincinnati. You don't necessarily have to go with the safety. You could get Mason Rudolph here and develop him behind Dalton. That is an option. But what are you thinking with the Bengals at 42?
Bengals, at this point in the first round, they were pretty easy to.
They got McGlinchey, but here it's like, yeah, it's a pain in the butt. They got two pass rushers in Willis and Lawson.
Not as easy.
Yeah, with Willis and Lawson, they have their edge rushers. They don't need that. They could go with a tight end here. Adam Brenneman or one of the other tight ends, they could go with a tight end here, but this is just a really difficult spot for them to be in. They could even get Will Clapp and replace Russell Bodine. There's a lot of options for the Bengals here.
Yeah, I feel like no matter what I do, it's going to be a reach. There's just no getting around that. They have a ton of running backs. They can't really do much as a running back.
Harold Landry's the best player on the board, but they got a lot of success out of both Jordan Willis and Carl Lawson during their rookie season. So they really don't need a pass rusher when you consider they got. So I don't think they'll go that route.
Yeah. I am going to go with the safety. I'm going to go with a guy I really liked. I'm going to go with Armani Watts, Texas A&M.
Armani Watts out of Texas A&M. This is the first third-round prospect to be selected. I took him out of my first 2 rounds. The Bengals fans, 60 set. I have him at 68 on my draft game, so that's a high third. That's not 42. That's not a terrible pick because it's a position of need. That's a pick that would probably get a C grade by me and an A grade by you and a B grade by Ryan. So that's actually a decent pick.
Yeah. I'd probably give it a B to a B plus because it is a little early for him. But at the same time, he's a guy I like. I think he's a guy that fit. And it's a situation that I think the Bengals could trade down from because I don't think there's a win in that situation for them.
Yeah, Oakland picks. They took Tremaine Edmonds at number 12 in the first round, but they are officially on the clock at 43 here in the second round. And how do you feel about getting them a pass rusher like Harold Landry to pair up with Khalil Mack? Because he's the best player on the board.
I think Harold Landry would be a great pick for him.
He's the only first rounder on the board.
I think they put way too much on Khalil Mack. As we saw during the season, they had him drop back into pass protection a lot. They had him rush the passer. They had him do all kinds of things. And I'm going to go with Landry because I think that they just need to take some of the pressure off Mack because he's been doing.
They cut Shalik Calhoun. None of the pass rushers they got really worked out. Mario Edwards Jr. hasn't worked out. They cut Calhoun. Yeah, I'm on board with Landry as well at this point.
Yeah, it's all about because something that you have to realize is that these guys, they get tired when they're relied on so much that you can't really do too much with them. They get tired. So we need to remember, we have to get them confident. Because the more you wear them down, the more they're not going to want to stay with you when their contract comes up.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The Washington Redskins are on the board now, and the smart thing to do would be to give the Washington Redskins Darius Geis, but they drafted Samaj Perine. They've got Chris Samuels, Robert Kelly. They've got depth at running back. I was thinking Wieneke as well, but they've still got Josh Dotson, who they spent a first-round pick on. They've got Crowder. I'm actually going to go in a different direction here. And I'm going to give them a player I gave the Raiders at 43 in my mock draft at 44, Vita Vea out of Washington. Give them some nose tackle. Give them a starting nose tackle that complements Jonathan Allen well, and watch this team take off. So I'm going to go Vita Vea out of Washington. Next up, we have...
Very nice selection.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins, who are on the clock before we get to Arizona. Now, they went Josh Allen in the first round. With Devontae Parker struggling, they could get a receiver. They could also go with a tight end here. They could also get a tight end to replace Julius Thomas, one of the tight ends in the draft.
Yeah, they could go a few different ways, and
they could also get Clapp to replace Pouncey. That's also on the table. There's a lot of different directions they could go in here.
Yeah, and who is the top center on the board?
Will Clapp.
Because
he was my number 1 center. I do have a Pro Bowl grade on him. I am at 41 on the draft game. They could also go with a center/guard like Billy Price out of Ohio State, who won the Remington Award. A lot of people have Price as a number 1 center, but he is not as good as Pat Elflein, in my personal opinion.
Price, he's a good player, but I don't see him as the number 1 guy.
Me neither, and I don't think he's as good as Pat Elflein was coming out of the draft last year. Like, we were both really high on Elflein. He fell to the 3rd round, but we knew he was going to be a steal. I don't get that vibe with Billy Price. I feel like he's going to bust. Someone's going to overdraft him, and he's not going to pan out.
Yeah, so I'll go with the number 1 center on the board. The the Dolphins, if they're going to draft a quarterback, if they're going to have a quarterback success, they need to have a center in there, and not just a center that will be there. Right now, Pouncey, he's not there.
Clapp can play center or guard too, which is another thing that helps his stock.
Yeah, and they also need a guard. So, I mean,
even if they keep Pouncey, they can plug him in at guard. It's a great pick.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll go with him.
And then it leads us to the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, they do need a quarterback. I could do the asshole thing, though, and that would be to draft Darius Geis, ignore need, take the best player on the board, and leave them without a quarterback. But I'm not that cruel. I'm not that cruel, Joey. You know I'm not that cruel. So we're going to give them Mason Rudolph and set them back even further.
I'm not sure how far setting them back because Carson Palmer is contemplating retirement. So,
all right.
It's a little bit of a weird situation.
Yep. So that leaves us with Green Bay on the clock. They went with Dante Jackson in the first round. We could go with another LSU player, but this defense really needs to be shored up. We're going to go Marcus Davenport, the edge player from Texas, San Antonio, 8.5 sacks, 17 tackles for a loss. He actually doesn't play in a bowl game, but he has the exact same stats as Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, and he's 6'7", 255. He's ready to start now, but they can use him as a depth player and get him acclimated with the system, and it's a great pick for Green Bay. So I'm going to go Marcus Davenport out of UTSA for the pack. Lisa should be very, very happy with. Now, the Chargers are on the board. There's 2 safeties available. There's Deshaun Elliott out of Texas, who I think is actually a better coverage safety than Ronnie Harrison, but he's not the blitzer. He doesn't bring the variety that Ronnie brings. So Deshaun Elliott's probably the best player on the board that fills a need for the Chargers, and that's who I have the Chargers taking. But what are you thinking with the Chargers here at 48?
The Chargers are a team that they're a lot better than a lot of people give them credit for. They're a team a lot of general consensus is in the AFC right now. There are, at least around Jacksonville, there are 2 teams that you don't want to play in the AFC playoffs. One is the Jaguars, and 2 is the San Diego Chargers. And say what you want about that, but it is what it is. That being said, the Chargers do need some help in a lot of areas, and but I think they go with the best player available. And one player I believe is still on the board that I have not heard the name called is Jari Alexander.
Yeah, so that's the best player.
Jari Alexander, cornerback, Louisville.
That's for the Chargers. Jair Alexander comes off the board here, and that's a good pick. Next up, we have at 49, we've got the Lions, and then I believe it's the Cowboys, because I had the Ravens picking at this spot, and then the Lions were picking, and then Seattle was picking. So the Lions pick at this spot here, and I'm going through the board, seeing if there's a defensive tackle for the Lions. There isn't. So by passing on a tight end, I've kept the Lions from getting a defensive tackle in the second round. But it's not the end of the world. They can get Jerome Baker as a replacement to Tahir Whitehead. Jerome Baker, a 43 right outside linebacker for Ohio State. He's projected to run a 4.37 40 time, and he does well in coverage. So we're going to go Jerome Baker out of Ohio State for the Lions, assuming he declares. If he goes back, that mixes things up. But the second round, so this is a tough situation for the Jets. They went quarterback, they went receiver, and I think the receiver we gave them was we didn't give them Kirk. I'm just trying to figure out who we gave them. On Tate. We gave them On Tate. offensive linemen. The top offensive lineman on my board is Campos, but I have 3 receivers graded ahead of him. Actually, 4 or 5. Yeah, I have 5 receivers graded ahead of Campos, even though he's my top offensive lineman. And those receivers are Burnett, Sutton, Simi Cobbs, Lazard, and Wieneke. I have all of those wideouts graded ahead of the next best offensive tackle on the board. And the Jets need a lot of offensive line help, so this is a bad situation for them. This is probably a situation where they trade down.
Yeah, it is a really bad situation because one of the best offensive tackles left is Hyatt. They traded out of Clemson, and his draft stock is dropping like a rock.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make things better for the situation. When your best prospects are that are dropping like a rock.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with these teams. They're really getting to the place now that you either have a lot of need or you're basically grasping at straws if those needs don't look at the best player.
The best player on the board that fits a position of need is Auburn cornerback Carlton Davis, who held Calvin Ridley to 3 receptions for 45 yards. This is the thing with Carlton Davis. He played like Aqib Talib versus the Patriots in the AFC Championship against Alabama. But he played like Aqib Talib versus Carson Wentz this year in the SEC Championship. So he had a really good game versus Alabama. He sucked versus Georgia.
Yeah, there's just a question. Has anybody called the name Anthony Winbush?
No, he's still on the board.
Okay, let's give the Jets a pass rusher, a very athletic playmaker, and a guy who is developed correctly, could be a guy who gets 8 to 10 sacks a year, Anthony Winbush.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Anthony Winbush is declaring yet, but I'm scrolling I'm having to do a lot of scrolling here. I'm scrolling into there's 210 players in this draft game, and if you can see the Google Hangout visual, we're at pick 150, and Anthony Winbush still hasn't shown up.
Well,
it's like when the net neutrality set. It was like when the net neutrality server thing shows up and it slows your internet down. That's sort of like what. Okay, we found Anthony Winbush, 169. So we drafted the 169th best player in the 2nd round. But this stuff happens all the time. Mike Mitchell was a 7th round pick back in 2009, and the Raiders took him in the 2nd round. So it happens. There's always a player that teams take on day 2 that most consider a day 3 talent. So Jets fans will hate it.
Well, you don't like him because he plays for Ball State, and you haven't watched a lot of him. You think he's too raw. And me, I'm like, well, he might be raw, but he can still kick somebody's ass. I mean, if he can kick ass, I can deal with raw, because then that means I can mold somebody who can already kick people's ass. I don't have to teach him how to kick ass. I just have to teach him everything else. So, it's like I can deal with that, and I think the Jets will be able to deal with that.
All right, outstanding. So the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock and this is an interesting. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock at 51, and there's a lot of good receivers on the board. I'm gonna take Wieneke because this team does need another receiver, and because there are a lot of they don't have to rush Wieneke. They can develop him. They can work on making him faster and improving his speed. Because yes, they could cut Des Bryant and save $8 million against the cap. They could do that. They're probably not going to do that. If they cut Terrence Williams, they lose cap money. And they've got Cole Beasley and they've got Ryan Switzer. So they have a lot of depth at receiver, more depth than people realize. But I could also go with the best player on the board. which is Darius Geis. And the reason that would be a good pick is because Alfred Morris and the other Dallas backup are both free agents at the end of the year. Both Morris and McFadden are free agents at the end of the year. And if neither one gets re-signed by the Cowboys, they're going to have an issue at running back if Ezekiel Elliott gets suspended again. So, and Geis is the best player on the board, and it's an absolute crime that Darius Geis didn't get picked in the top 50. So you know what? Screw it, Cowboys Nation. You're getting Darius Geis for depth. Kerm isn't on the call to stop me from cursing your team. Darius Geis locking it in. Christmas, Kerm.
Yay.
All right, moving on to number 52. We have the Baltimore Ravens. They went with Anthony Johnson in the first round. They're going to get another big target for Joe Flacco. Oh, wait, you're picking for the Ravens. Beep, damn it. Okay, you're picking for the Ravens, and you're not going to go with a receiver. You're probably going to go with another position.
You go ahead and go with the Ravens because you seem like you're really excited about this. So
I was going to give them Jake Wieneke to give Flacco multiple weapons, but if you think that's a horrible pick.
He's not a big weapon. He's 5'10" or something.
He's
like
6'4",
that.
too.
I'm going to give him a big weapon.
Jake Wieneke's 6'4". Jake Wieneke is 6'4", Joey. He's not 5'10". He's 6'4". You're thinking of Denzel Ward, the Ohio State corner.
He plays so much smaller than 6'4". He's good at what he does, but it's like I always thought he was like. Every time I see him, it's like.
Do you want to double up at wide receiver for the Ravens? Because there's other receivers still on the board. There's Alan Lazard's on the board, Simi Cobbs is on the board, Burnett is on the board, and Cortland Sutton are all still on the board. Do you want to double up at receiver and get Flacco a second weapon to pair with Anthony Johnson? Or no?
Do what and how?
Do you want to get a second weapon to pair up with your first-round pick, Anthony Johnson? You want to double dip at wide receiver here? Because there's a lot of good ones on the board.
It's like I gave you the pick, you know. It's like.
You know what? If you gave me the pick, I'll just take Wieneke.
Yes, it's like.
And we'll move on. We'll move on. Yeah. So, yeah. Now it is officially Joey's pick again, and he's picking for the Buffalo Bills at number 53 here. And Buffalo Bills, looking at their outlook, Isaiah Oliver and Maurice Hurst, I believe, with their first. No, wait, they went with Deron Payne and Isaiah Oliver. So they went defensive tackle, they went Oliver, and they could. The best player on the board is Texas safety Deshaun Elliott. That being said, the Buffalo Bills, do they need a safety or because they have their two safeties locked up for the next 4 years under contract? So fiscally, I don't think they will take a safety. What they could do is they could get one of these wide receivers like Burnett or Cortland Sutton. They could get a receiver here, and they could pair him with Benjamin because Benjamin's contract isn't up after this season. I thought he didn't get a fifth-year tender. Turns out he did get a fifth-year tender. So the Buffalo Bills have Kelvin Benjamin until 2019. So that changes the dynamic a little bit. However, they have Zay Jones as a number 2 target, ready to be that number 2 guy next year. So they could also get a running back to groom behind LaShawn McCoy. And Nick Chubb is still on the board. So this is an interesting situation for the Bills. They have the Rams pick too.
Need right now is a second quarterback to compete with Peterman because you don't want to go in with, just one young quarterback, and Tyrod Taylor is probably not going to be there. So they were in front of me this year simply because they had to be quarterbacks on the board.
My top quarterback on the board at number 104 is Luke Falk, but I'm probably going to move him down at some point.
Oh, for the love of crap. Who's after him?
The next quarterback after Luke Falk is 117, Riley Ferguson. He didn't get a Senior Bowl invite. He got a Shrine Game invite. After him is Brian Shore, James Madison, 118. He didn't get a Shrine or Senior Bowl invite, but he is in the FCS Championship for the second year in a row. First quarterback since Carson Wentz to accomplish that feat. After him is Briscoe. He got a Shrine Game invite, not a Senior Bowl invite. And after him is Logan Woodside out of Toledo. He got shut out 34-0 in his bowl game. So you're going to pass on that. And then we've got, after Logan Woodside, we've got 155, Mike White, Western Kentucky. And I feel I'm just getting a Mike White vibe coming from you at this pick. And it's a pick Bills fans would hate, too. So it's kind of fitting.
I don't like any of those guys in this position.
At this point, yeah.
So,
I'll keep.
the Bills may just end up being set with Peterman at the end of the year because
I will keep searching through the quarterbacks on the board below those quarterbacks. Next up, we've got Kyle Lauetta out of Richmond. He's 184 on the draft game, but he has accepted a Senior Bowl invite. Then you got Kirk Benkert out of Virginia. And then after that, we've got one more quarterback, and I think that's Brandon Silvers out of Troy, who we just added him to the draft game yesterday, but he is at 204 on our draft game.
Yeah. What do they have at
You hate all those quarterback options.
I'm looking at everything they need and best available players, and I'm not looking. I'm just going through a mental catalog of them, and this is not good to fit what the Bills need. I know they need another wide receiver. I know Peterman is so top receivers. Run me through them again.
Top receivers are Alan Lazard, Cortland Sutton, Simmie Cobbs Jr., and Burnett.
Let's go with Simmie Cobbs Jr.
Right.
I love his range. I love his length. And I think pairing him with Benjamin would be an extremely strong pairing.
Yeah, we gave the Titans Arden Key in the first round. The second round, the best player on the board for the Titans is Deshaun Elliott out of Texas. They do have Kevin Byard. They do have another safety, Denoris Searcy. So their safety situation is actually pretty stable. The best player on the board after that is Auburn corner Carlton Davis, who's up and down. They could take him as a project. He is a bigger player than Adoree Jackson, but they've got Jackson and they brought in Logan Ryan. So they could get Carlton. They already went Arden Key. I don't see them doubling up at pass rusher. They've got a lot of receivers. They don't need Nick Chubb. They don't need an offensive tackle. They could go with Virginia Tech left guard Wyatt Teller, who I do have a late second-round grade on. But honestly don't know what to do with the Titans here. Do you have any free... You seem just as puzzled.
I'd say let's go with the best wide receiver on the board because the receivers, they didn't even impress me against the Browns, okay?
So they're getting Alan Lazard here, and you pair him with a big target like Corey Davis. Maybe he gives Corey Davis that competition he needs. So.
Yeah, the pair would probably do better than the individual.
Probably do better. So, yeah, the Titans take Alan Lazard out of Iowa State. All right, the Falcons are on the board, and we gave the Falcons Ronnie Harrison in the first round. So I can't take Deshaun Elliott. I could take Carlton Davis for depth. I am not a fan of Taven Bryan, but I know a lot of people in Lombardi's Draft Talk have a first-round grade on him. I also know that Scott Karazic, the Falcons fan, who used to be on the Walter Football Forum, Ryan, is defensive lineman in the entire draft, which, even though Joey and I disagree with that statement, I'm going to go ahead and give Scott a bit more pleasant.
Yay.
I did not enjoy doing that, but feels good to do a good deed for someone once in a while. And now we go back to the Carolina Panthers. everyone's saying they need is cornerback help. They need safety help. They drafted 2 corners back in 2016 in Wardley and Bradbury. We're going to give those corners one more year. We're going to take Deshaun Elliott here, get the best player on the board. And now after torture, the Chiefs are finally in that position where they can draft either Deontay Burnett or Cortland Sutton here in the 2nd round with this pick.
Chiefs actually draft?
Yeah, the Chiefs have a 2nd round pick at 57, and they're on the clock now.
I didn't think the Chiefs were allowed to draft anybody. I mean, it's been so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton being on the board right now is a great pick for them because I think he fits what they need to do, and I think Andy Reid is the type of guy who can, develop him the way he needs to be developed in that offense.
And with Mahomes throwing him the deep ball, he's just going to have a huge impact with Mahomes and skyrocket his game once he takes over as the starter.
Yeah, he has to be able to be in a system that fits him well, and I think this one does.
All right, awesome pick there. The Jaguars are on the clock here at 58, and you went with first round. I think you went with an offensive. I don't know if you went with an offensive lineman or not. The Jaguars. I can't remember what you did with the Jaguars in the first round. Would you?
I went offensive line, I believe.
Yeah. But
yeah, so I wanted to go tight end, and you stole my tight ends out from under me.
So did you give them Orlando Brown, and then I gave Okorafor to the Rams, and then Connor Williams fell to the Eagles? Or no, the Steelers got Orlando Brown. I'm just...
Yeah.
So what the heck did the Jaguars get? Did I give the... Maybe I'll remember if I quickly scroll through the draft game here and try to figure out... Oh, you went with Bo Benchwale, the Wisconsin. You went with Benchwale.
You are so twisted around right now, Chris.
Yeah.
Listening to you makes me head hurt.
Yeah, so you went with Bo Benchwale. Carlton Davis is the top player on the board, but he's a cornerback. Joshua Allen's a 34 outside linebacker. Jordan Whitehead's a safety. They don't really need a safety. The best player on the board for Jacksonville is Deontay Burnett. That fills a need. And they could basically just replace Marquise Lee with another Trojan man, another USC receiver. So I'm guessing that's the route we're taking.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of Deontay, so I think he'll fit well. I'll go there.
All right.
And remember, Coughlin loves high-character players. Yeah, he's not going to take somebody with character concerns. He's not going to deal with it.
Wait, the Jaguars pick at 60. So, but yeah, the Rams, the Bills pick at 58. And the Bills, yeah, we basically, I don't remember I think we gave the Bills we gave the Bills Simi Cobbs Jr. So that was actually the Bills selection. We doubled up at receiver. Oops. You know what? Screw it. We'll give the Jaguars him. We'll give the Bills Nick Chubb at 58 just to make things less complicated. And then we'll give the 49ers Jack Campos for depth behind Joe Staley. Yeah, so we'll give the 49ers Jack Campos as a left tackle for depth behind Joe Staley. We're going to give the Bills with the Rams pick Nick Chubb, and we're going to give the Jaguars Deontay Burnett. I mean, I'm overthinking so much. I'm literally at the point where the NFL could test me for a concussion or put me on concussion protocol. But yeah, the Vikings are on the board here at 61, and we're going to go best player on the Davis. The value at that point is just too good to pass on. And Pittsburgh is on the clock at 62. So the best players for Pittsburgh at 62. 47, Joshua Allen. You went with Orlando Brown in round 1. You could go Jordan Whitehead, the local Pittsburgh safety. He's still on the board for the Steelers, but he has the DUI, the off-the-field stuff. So Pittsburgh. We could go offensive line again. We could go Wyatt Teller out of Virginia Tech. He's on the board here. So we could get a left guard for Ramon Foster, so we could keep building that O-line in Pittsburgh. Brenneman's on the board. What do you want to do with Pittsburgh here?
Yeah. I'll go with I'd say go with the Memphis quarterback at this point because I think he fits well, and Roethlisberger, if they don't win the Super Bowl, could be a very good teacher for him.
I agree with that. That's a good pick for the Steelers. Sounds like someone else is on the call. Ryan has just joined us. Awesome, Ryan. You will be. We're about the second round here, but the next team on the clock is the Patriots, and then there's the Browns. So you get to pick for the Patriots and the Browns, Joey, and then we'll have Ryan assess this draft. Start the third. I do want to get to the Texans pick. We won't go through the entire third round, but the Houston Texans pick at 70. I want to get to their pick on this show. So we'll get up to 70. We'll let Ryan make a few picks in the third round. Does that sound good? And then we'll stop at 70 and then get to our picks for today.
Yeah, Ryan can pick my picks in the third round and switch because I'm going to get ready. I'll still listen and chime in every now and then, but I want to get ready for the Browns game. So.
Yeah. You got any picks for today before we get to these final two games? Or final two picks for round two? All right, so the Patriots are on the clock here. And you went with a corner and went wide receivers. So let's go with
corner, wide receiver, offensive line. Who's best offensive lineman?
Best offensive tackle on the board is Oregon's Tyrell Crosby. The best guard is Wyatt Teller. But I have Teller graded higher anyway. Yeah, Ryan was the one who was kind enough to introduce me to Teller's tape, and I really became a fan after that. So kudos to you, Ryan. Good job for that, buddy. And the Browns, we're going to give the Browns – are we going to give the Browns Crosby as a right tackle to wrap up round two, Joey? Or do you want to go with another player?
Who did you say? I couldn't understand. It's just static.
Tyrell Crosby's the best right tackle on the board, and he's the second-round grade player. He's still on the board.
Where is he out of? The name's familiar.
Oregon. He's on Oregon. He was a right tackle on Oregon as a true freshman when Mariota got them to the playoff. He started his – and he did well as a freshman versus Walker and Bosa.
With Coleman starting, they do need another backup offensive tackle at this point, so that'd be a good pick.
Yeah, so looking at who made it to round three, Joshua Allen out of Kentucky, Jordan Whitehead out of Pittsburgh. Then after that, we only had like one or two players. Adam Brenneman out of UMass, Justin Lawler out of SMU, and Denzel Ward out of Ohio State. Those are the players that made it to round three. Before we get the Texans pick at 70, we'll let Ryan pick for a few of these teams in the third round. If you're here, the audio's working. If not, we're going to get to Joey's picks. But if you're here and we can get... All right, awesome.
Yeah, Ryan can have my AFC picks.
Okay, so the Browns outlook, they went Rosen, they went Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then round two they went with Christian Kirk, and they went with two other key players. Oh, wait, you went with Calvin Ridley to start round two. That's right. You went with Calvin Ridley, and then you went with I cannot remember what Joey did with that second. Yeah, I don't remember what Joey did with that second round pick from the Texans. It's just my memory is a little bit vague. I'm sure I'll remember when I go back and listen to this podcast, listen to everything here. Yeah, but for the moment, this pick just makes a lot of sense. What do you want to do with the Browns? Do you want to go Denzel Ward here, Ryan, or what do you want to do with Joey's pick?
do we have available, Chris?
Brenneman's on the board. Lawler's on the board. Michael Gallup's on the board.
Hear me out, Chris. We could go with Brenneman, pair up with Noku, because with Noku you have an athletic tight end, whereas Brenneman's like your big run healthy tight end.
Yeah, and that would be a good pick. I have a second round grade on Brenneman, and to start round 3, that would be a good pick. So Adam Brenneman, it is. And with all the Browns picks, I've already lost count. So the Giants are on the clock. We went with round 1. We went with Darnold. We went with Eli in the round 2. So we went with Darnold in round 1, and then round 2 we went with Anthony Miller. Round 3, we're gonna give the Giants. We're gonna give the Giants safety help. We're gonna go Jordan Whitehead at a pit. No, the Giants are not a team that takes players with character concerns. Ignore that. Ignore that. We're gonna go with Denzel Ward to give Eli Apple some much-needed competition. We could go Justin Lawler here, but they are set at 43 defensive end. Who's on the board after that? The Colts are on the board. Colts went with Ogbonina Okoronkwo and Quentin Nelson, so they went with a pass rusher and a left guard, their first 2 picks. They're on the board to double up off the edge, and they could get Joshua Allen out of Kentucky. So he's the best player on the board as well. Is that what we're going to do here, Ryan, or are we going to go another direction?
You know, I like the idea, Chris. I'll agree with you on this one.
All right. Allen out of Kentucky it is. And then we are at the next pick is 60. That was pick 67. So pick 68 is going to be either pick 68 is going to be the Bears, and then the Buccaneers, and then the Texans at 70. So the Chicago Bears are on the clock at 68. No, wait. The Bears are not on the clock. The 49ers are on the clock. They got their third-round pick via trade. So the 49ers, with this third-round pick, they've already got a left tackle, and they got Saquon Barkley at running back. So they're going to go with the best receiver on the board, assuming they're – and we'll give them Michael Gallup out of Colorado State at this pick, because that's a good pick for San Francisco. They haven't gotten a receiver yet. And with Tampa Bay's third-round pick, they went with offensive line and with guard. There's no running backs on the board. Nick Chubb already been selected. We're going to go with the best player on the board at this point, and that is Jordan Whitehead out of Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay seems like a team that would look past his character concerns. And now the Houston Texans are on the clock at number 70. We're going to give them a pick and a voice to wrap up the show. The top offensive lineman on the Florida Gators offensive lineman. Is that who we're going to give the Texans to wrap this up, or no?
Yes, and this is why, Chris. You get a guy that's an athletic guard, somebody that's going to help Watson be able to be mobile as well. You have a guard that's going to be a little bit quicker than your average guy as well, plus he has the instinct. So I feel like it's a great pick for the long run, too. Yeah,
and I was going to have Joey go over his picks to end the show, but since he left the call to get ready for the game, Joey, if you're still here, feel free to go over your picks for the end of the show. But if you need to get ready for the game, Ryan and I will continue.
Picks for which team?
Picks for every team this week, because Ryan and I have already made our predictions for this week's games.
Oh, the predictions. Yeah, you'll have to run through game by
All
game.
right, I can do that. Next first game is Detroit and Cincinnati. It's in Cincinnati.
Who in Cincinnati?
It's Detroit and Cincinnati.
Detroit.
The next game features the Dolphins and the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Chiefs wrap up the division today. Okay.
Yeah.
And don't worry, draft game, folks. I am going to have Ryan complete the third round as soon as we get through Joey's picks. We're just taking a quick intermission from the Texans pick. And that's cool. So I have the Chiefs winning as well. Next game features the Bills and the Patriots in New England. I'm going with the Patriots, but it's going to be a close game. Very close game. Much closer than last time's blowout. And I'm completely aware of the
question, is Tyrod Taylor playing?
Nate Soldier is listed as questionable, too, and Marcus Cannon's been placed on IR. So Brady's going to get pressured a lot more today.
Is Tyrod Taylor playing?
Yes, he is. He was back last week.
Okay, I'm going with the Bills.
It is sort of a revenge game for them. And Ryan went with the Bills also. And the Bills are not a lock. And the Patriots are not a lock on Draft Utopia for one of the first times all season out. I picked Pittsburgh last week. So this is the third time all year the Patriots are not a lock on Draft Utopia. The first time the Patriots are at home and they're not a lock this season. Next up, we got your game, the Browns and the Bears. And Oren had to flip a coin. Oren Sheary's the overall picks leader on draftutopia.com this year, and he had to flip a coin to determine that the Bears would win by a field goal. So that's how torn he was in this game. Wait, can we do that? Can we give both teams an L?
It's really that simple. It's like, because I think the Browns are not going to go 0-16. And this is the only team they can beat out of the two they have left. But at the same time, the Browns suck. And at the same time, Trubisky sucks. At the same time, Kaiser sucks. At the same time, both running games are pretty well emerging.
This feels like an episode of Lewis Black's Root of All Evil. Which quarterback is going to set your franchise back more? Representing Mitchell Trubisky, Andy Dick. Representing Kaiser, Greg Giraldo. That's what this feels like.
Yeah, it's like Browns defense, they pointed out, they haven't forced a turnover since November 18th or something like that. Oh, if they get this rookie quarterback who has a 1-to-1 touchdown ratio and a 50% completion percentage, by the way, that's a lot of mistakes. You don't think they're not going to get turnover off that. Oh, that quarterback also has a few fumbles. Oh, and, it's like, Browns have still the number 7 rush defense in the NFL. I mean, this is a situation where this is a no-win scenario. It's like, which quarterback's going to pull defeat out of the jaws of victory? It's like, I give them both the loss. Because there is not going to be a winner here, no matter what the final score is.
That's true. Neither one of these quarterbacks stands to benefit long-term. And
yeah, this is a lose-lose game for everybody involved.
So I'm going to get my lucky silver dollar and flip it in the air. Heads, the Browns get their first win according to Joey. Tails, the Bears get their first win according to Joey. Bears get win number 5 according to Joey. Because Joey says both teams are going to lose this game, and since that's not possible, I have to flip a coin to determine if the Browns are going to get their first win of the year. Just like Matthew McConaughey in True for the Money. It's heads. The coin says the Browns will get their first win today.
Are we actually on a scouting show and like a sports show, or are we on a circus? Because I am confused with all the bears running around, the hula hoops running around, and elephants. What is going on?
Well, Joey said the Bears and the Browns would both lose.
There's a lot of weight, so calling me an elephant would not be accurate.
And Joey said the Browns and the Bears would both lose. So I had to flip a coin to make Joey's pick for him. I had to flip a coin to determine, and Joey has picked the Browns according to the coin. The coin says you picked the Browns.
It might as well go with Magic 8 Ball.
I've got a Simpsons Magic 8 Ball. We can get out the Simpsons Magic 8 Ball and ask him if the Browns will win today.
The fact that you have a Magic 8 Ball just kind of worries me. Like, you also have a Ouija board somewhere back there.
I feel like we're talking about like a whole different 8 Ball right now.
I like Ryan's version of the 8 Ball better.
Joey got it.
Yeah, I'm not.
Anyway.
The 8 Ball's just this 8 Ball is like 10 years old. It doesn't work, and it's a piece of shit. So we're not going to use my piece of shit 8 Ball to predict the future. We're just going to go with the silver dollar and leave it at that.
So we're not doing the 8 Ball.
The 8-ball is not working. My 8-ball is not working.
Oh, you are so lame. Like, we can't even do the 8-ball with Chris around.
Okay, honestly, this is how we know this is a holiday show, folks, because there is definitely plenty of snow.
Will the Browns win? The Browns would win, and the response is forget it, pal. So the 8-ball says the Bears are going to win. The coin says the Browns are going to win. So even my psychic powers are conflicted on this. I don't have psychic powers. I'm just saying that. So we've gone from a coin to an 8-ball to me accusing myself of having psychic powers.
Well, privilege is that dude doesn't get is when it's surprising.
Hey, Ryan, he's asking the 8-ball question, and the 8-ball's answering.
The 8-ball says the Browns will lose. The coin says the Browns will win.
Like the Scarface of draft utopia right now.
It's like Chris is so serious about the 8-ball, and we're like, yeah, Chris is talking to the 8-ball. Yeah.
All right, so you're going with the coin or the 8-ball, Joey. The Browns or the Bears, the coin or the 8-ball.
Let's just move on, man. I have thinking it's just like generated into.
So Joey's picking the Bears because the 8-ball picked the Bears. Let's move on to the next game. All right, Buccaneers, Panthers. This is a much easier game.
I guess he doesn't know this candy very well.
I don't think Chris has a very much of a clue at this point.
Yeah, I'm about as clueless as Donald Trump during that last Browns-Bears segment. I was about as clueless as Donald Trump.
Do you think Trump uses 8-ball?
Probably, and then he asks himself, should I go to war with North Korea? And then he shakes the 8-ball, and then the 8-ball says, absolutely.
Why are you shaking the 8-ball? The 8-ball is precious. Do not injure the 8-ball.
And Donald Trump has ruined the 8-ball like he's ruined his casinos.
And you know the funniest thing is, Chris talking about a magic 8-ball. We are on a completely different spectrum, Ryan.
I feel like we're talking about the American cup of coffee, really.
We're talking about the like I said.
Yeah, Joey's taking the Bears and the 8-ball over the Browns and the silver dollar. So the Buccaneers and the Panthers.
No, I'm just taking.
You can't pick both teams to lose. You can't pick both teams to lose. The coin has the Browns, the 8-ball is the Bears, and I've made this way more confusing than it needs to be. So.
Well, actually, I think this time it was myself and Ryan who made it much more confusing. Well, at the same time, making it more entertaining.
Yes. Well done.
So, yeah, let's just keep focused here because Chris is.
No. Buccaneers, Panthers. Buccaneers, Panthers. So.
Ryan, do you think we should explain the 8-ball to him on air, or we should wait and give him a detailed description after?
We'll tell him after. Keep going.
Yeah, all right. So you guys are taking the Bears. Browns are 0-15. Buccaneers, Panthers. It's in Carolina. Buccaneers win, and they ruin their draft position. Awesome. Next up.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just going through like Buccaneers. Like
yeah, the 8-ball has compelled you to go with the Pirates. Falcons, Saints. I'm going with the Saints in this one. They need revenge on the Falcons. I'm guessing you just took the Saints. I know Ryan's taking the Falcons.
He was always a White Ranger fan.
Yeah, so.
I went with the Falcons.
Yeah.
Like I said, you were always a White Ranger fan.
Okay, what does the White Power Ranger have to do with the Falcons? Okay, that is even more off topic than the 8-ball.
Animals, you know, and Getty the spirit animals. Tommy's spirit was the Falcon. You know nothing of 1990s pop culture.
No, I know. I was born in 1991.
You had a full 2 years to get acquainted with Power Rangers.
My older brother was the Power Rangers expert.
Well, obviously your older brother is a lot cooler than you.
Of course. He was a producer on The Walking Dead for a few seasons. Like, he did music. He was like a musical producer on The Walking Dead for like 2 seasons.
Yeah. Like, Tommy was the man for me, and, let's get Jason French is now, in several dojos and is an MMA fighter, while your dudes on The Walking Dead are, like, dead.
Yeah.
I win because I got the badass.
Yep. The Broncos and Joey's taking the Saints. Ryan's taking the Falcons. Moving on, we've got the Redskins and the Broncos. We had a show earlier this week where Ryan and Tracy were debating over this game. Actually, they didn't debate over this game, which is a rarity because the Broncos are out of the playoffs and Ryan wants them to lose. It's Brock Osweiler versus Kirk Cousins. I like Cousins over Osweiler, though.
Well, actually, the Broncos brain trust came out and decided to say, we got Paxton Lynch the rest of the year.
But he got injured versus the Raiders. If he's not clear to play, they're going to start Osweiler.
Well, yeah, if he's not cleared to play, but if he's cleared to play before the game, he's starting.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
My prediction is that Paxton Lynch will be back next week. And if the Chiefs win the division today, we'll see the Chiefs play Patrick Mahomes in Week 17. We'll see Paxton Lynch cleared to play in Week 17, and we'll see both of Leigh Steinberg's clients face off in Week 17 in Denver, Mahomes and Paxton Lynch.
Well, here's the thing. There's something that I get from this. Sashi Brown needs 17 games to evaluate Sean Kaiser. John Elway needs 3 games to evaluate Paxton Lynch. Who's better at evaluating quarterbacks? Elway. Dude, I give the Broncos and the number 1 pick in the draft we just went through.
Yeah. Both teams got quarterbacks.
So in this, I'm going to go with the Redskins simply to procure Baker Mayfield for the Broncos.
Yeah.
I honestly got hope though, because honestly though, hear me out. I know I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite. I know, but I am starting to buy into Josh Allen just a little bit.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Elway's going to visit. Next quarterback Elway's going to scout is Sam Darnold.
I think I screw up. I'm disgusted by this.
Elway, it's almost like Elway's trying to piss you off, like intentionally trying to piss you off. First he scouts Lamar, and then he scouts Sam Darnold. It almost feels like Elway's trying to fuck with Ryan by pissing him off.
You never know. Maybe he don't play this, never coach.
Maybe Elway's just got this sick game. All right.
I'm curious. No, that the Broncos need a quarterback, and at this point, even if it's Darnold or Allen, at this point, I'm excited just to see who we get. Because Paxton looks very much failure.
Yeah, we both predicted that.
Chris, are you thinking with your 8-ball again?
No. I'm not thinking with my Paxton Lynch mustache either.
Well, yeah, you don't look at the.
Let's Super Bowl 34 rematch. I want to see Jeff Fisher in the stands for this game. You can also check out for more in-depth analysis on the Rams. Go over to Spreaker and check out Rams Showcase hosted by Joe Branham. But let's move on to the Rams-Titans game. Titans. I'm going Titans 23, Rams 16, which was ironically was the same score of Super Bowl 34. But I have the Titans winning. But I have the exact same score as Super Bowl 34. But I have the Titans winning this game today. I can't go back into a time machine and alter the Super Bowl like the guys in Back to the Future. I can't go into a time machine and alter the future, Tennessee. I'm sorry, but I can't do it. So we're going with.
I don't know why you take the Tennessee Titans, I guess. I'm like,
They're fighting for a wild card. The Rams are fighting for the division. And they're still technically in the AFC South division until the Jaguars win.
I'm not sure where you're going with this because everything just kind of seemed muddled together.
Yeah, Ryan's going Rams. I'm going Titans. You need to provide some clarity, Joey.
Jerry Goff is having a great season.
He is.
Todd Gurley is having a great year, and he can be done in this conversation.
Okay.
I feel like the NFL wants to wait until Week 17 to crown all these things. The NFL wants to wait until Week 17 to debacle all these scenarios. So, but if the Rams win this game, they do take the NFC West.
I think if the Rams take a knee at this game before the anthem, it's not to protest the anthem, it's to protest what Jeff Fisher said. There is no way that this is up there.
I want to see Jeff Fisher protesting during the national anthem like Colin Kaepernick. I want to see Jeff Fisher protesting the national anthem like Kaepernick. I just want him to take a knee at midfield during the national anthem. And then security escorts him out of the stadium. You got to admit, that would be pretty funny. If Jeff Fisher took a knee during the national anthem at midfield and security escorted him out of the stadium. Come on, that's funny. All right, moving on from the Jeff Fisher debacle, we have the Chargers and the Jets in New York, and the Chargers. I've got the Chargers winning this one. We could see a situation where if the Titans lose, we could see the Bills at 8-7, the Chargers at 8-7, and the Titans at 8-7 heading into the final week of the season. Battling it out for that final wild card.
Yeah, I've got the Chargers.
We're all taking the Chargers.
Good job, Joey. I agree.
Yeah. Moving on, we got the Jaguars and the 49ers. The Jaguars are 4-point favorites on the point spread, but I'm taking the Niners to cover. Jaguars 38, Niners 35. Garoppolo gets his first loss, but throws 5 touchdowns and balls out.
Jimmy G balls out. Come on, Joey. Don't listen to Chris.
Listen to me. I'm saying Jimmy G balls out like Ryan, but I'm picking the Jaguars to win, and I'm using logic.
I'm listening to beer.
What does the beer tell you to do? Does the beer tell you to pick the Niners or the Jaguars? What is your beer telling you to do?
The beer tells me I can get a free Jaguars game if I go to the Jacksonville bar. So in that case, I go with Jacksonville because they also give me a discount.
The Seahawks play the Cowboys in Dallas. And we're not going to ruin Kerm's Christmas by having the Seahawks win. We're going with the Cowboys.
Chris moves on from that. There is no disputing anything I just said about how that's a good thing.
Yes, it's called misdirection. We're moving on from Joey's beer in the Jacksonville bar to Kerm's Cowboys winning on Christmas Eve. We're not going to ruin Kerm's Christmas, guys, by picking Seattle.
Yes,
We're not.
We need to ruin it. Joey ruined Kerm's Christmas. Bees the Grinch.
Well, I'm more like Scrooge, but at the same time, because let's be realistic, Ryan. The Grinch didn't want to stop Christmas from coming. Grinch didn't hate Christmas.
But then he ended up making up for it.
He ended up smiling quite ugly. But at the same time, I'm not going to do it to him. I'm going to take the Cowboys. But at the same time, bah humbug.
Bah humbug, the other teams winning end up, well, that means the Panthers would lose the Falcons in Week 17 and the Cowboys would be out regardless. Giants, Cardinals, and Arizona. Time for my upset of the week. Eli Manning wins his final road game as a New York Giant in Arizona, the place where he ruined the Patriots' 19-0 season. Eli wins. Arizona loses. 2017, the Giants are my Christmas Eve upset of the week. Bah humbug, Arizona.
Joey, I think you need to disappoint this young whippersnapper and make it.
Yeah, I really do. I want to go to Arizona because, let's face it, Eli sucks.
He's not as bad as Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert's worse.
No, he's not.
Blaine Gabbert's worse than Eli.
Don't fill Joseph's head with sweet little lies.
That's not a lie. That's the truth. Eli won 2 Super Bowls. Blaine Gabbert flamed out with the Jaguars.
Blaine Gabbert has accuracy.
He does not. You love Blaine Gabbert coming out of Missouri. I hated Blaine Gabbert coming out of Missouri. You're using your emotions to cloud Joey's judgment. Joey's going to take the Cardinals, though, so we're going to move on to Pittsburgh and Houston, and we're all taking the Steelers. We're representing the people of Pittsburgh, not Houston. Sorry, Donald Trump. Your Paris Agreement bullshit, whatever. Raiders, Eagles. It's in Philadelphia on Christmas Eve. The Raiders are going to lose, but it's going to be a close game. 31-28. Foles improves to 2-0 as a starter.
Eagles. I think Foles has another 4 touchdowns.
Yep. And if the Eagles win out and get to the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, I do think Nick Foles will be in consideration for the Browns. I know we've talked about that, but I believe they will get him. They'll get Josh Rosen, and then they'll have Kaiser. And Kaiser will be delegated to 3rd string, and if he doesn't make any progress or show he can win the backup job, he's going to get cut in 2019. But, yeah, those are our predictions for Christmas Eve. Ryan, if you want to keep going, we can with the draft game. If you're not, I'm going to end the hangout on Google Hangouts, and then we're going to get ready for Sunday afternoon's games. What do you want to do, Ryan? I know the Broncos play at 1. It's a 1 p.m. game, I believe. So, what do you want to do? Let's end the draft game.
I'd like to be able to give a huge shout-out to PDGF in Colorado. Thank you. Secondly, a huge shout-out and Merry Christmas to our viewers and audience. Thirdly, I had to eat a sausage McMuffin and also a large Coke, which was absolutely delicious and refreshing. Yes, I watched Ricky Bobby like 3 times. So, that being said, Chris, I have the energy. I have the focus. I have my natural medicine. And the drive to keep going. So let's go ahead and keep going.
All right, we're going to keep going with the draft game then. We're going to finish the 3rd round. We'll get to pick 96. I'm not going to go up. I'm not going to do the compensation picks today. But we will go to pick 96. And on the clock at 72, that was Joseph Potter who made the picks. I want to thank him for coming on and wish him a happy holidays.
Joey, Merry Christmas. I love you.
He celebrates Yule. He celebrates Yule. He had a...
Well, then.
But yeah, he appreciates that. All right. So Tampa Bay is San Francisco is on the clock again at pick 73, and San Francisco. I'm picking for San Francisco. I gave them Gallup. I'm going to give them Justin Lawler, my best available pass rusher. And if you've been with us this whole time, thank you so much. We're officially, no more second round prospects are on the board at this point. We're in round 3. Who's on the board here? Let's see here. I believe it's the Jets that begin the 3rd round. I believe the Jets, and we gave the Jets Lamar Jackson in round 1. They also got a receiver in the 2nd round. They got Auden Tate. I think we gave them.
I feel like we should go with a center guard right now, Chris, or maybe even a tackle. What do you think?
They already took. Well, Will Clapp went to the Dolphins, I think it was. So they didn't get a center in the 2nd round with one of their 2 second-round picks. Mason Cole's on the board. I'm guessing we're going Mason Cole then.
Well, Chris,
or we could go with Bozeman. There's a lot of centers on the board.
Okay, now make the case for Bozeman for our audience. Let's introduce our audience.
All right. Bradley Bozeman, 6'4", 318 pounds. He has a bigger frame than any center in this draft. He's not the pass blocker Ryan Kelly is, but he's a great run blocker. And he fits the Jets' run blocking scheme if that's the route you want to go in. Sounds like you want to go with Bozeman.
I have a question. Have we picked Schlottman at any point in our draft game yet?
I don't even have Schlottman on my top 210 in the draft game. And he lost his starting job. Pro Football Focus reported that TCU moved him to the guard. And he might even lose his starting job. So for that reason, I didn't add him to the draft game. Because Pro Football Focus said he lost his starting job.
Yeah. Chris, I guess for argument's sake, I want to give our audience Schlottman or Mason Cole.
But Schlottman's not on the draft game, Ryan. I didn't add him because the word is that he may have lost his starting center job at TCU. So I didn't add him yet. I'll add him at some point, but I didn't add him to the draft game yesterday. He's not one of the 10 players I added. And I moved him down on my FanSpeak board, too.
I'm disappointed now with everybody. So, all right, Chris, Mason Cole it is.
Mason Cole it is. Perfect. That leaves your Broncos or no, it's the Bengals are up next. The Bengals are up next. The Bengals, they went with a safety. I don't remember who they went with. I don't remember what Joey did with the Bengals. I know he went with the Mike McGlinchey in the 1st round. I don't remember what Joey did in the 2nd round, though. I think he went with a safety. I don't remember exactly what safety he went with, but I'm fairly certain he went with a safety. I don't think he went with Deshaun Elliott. He went with Armani Watts. That's right. So Armani Watts is off the board, and Mike McGlinchey. That's the Bengals draft outlook so far. So they could go with Fumagalli here. They could get a tight end to replace their starting tight end. They could go with him. You want to do that? You want to go Fumagalli to the Bengals here? With their starting tight end being a free agent, Tyler Eifert?
No, Chris. Who's the best guard available?
Bengals really don't need a guard. They got Clinton Bowling at left guard, but they could use a right guard. The best right guard on the board, Will Hernandez is the best overall guard on the board, but he's not the best right guard. And there's not really a lot of right guards in this draft.
All right. That being said, then, I feel like maybe the Bengals should pick up a wide receiver. Is Cortland Sutton available?
No. He got drafted by the Chiefs, which I know you're thrilled about because he fell in the 2nd round and he got picked by the Broncos' rival, the Kansas City Chiefs. You were ecstatic about that.
Yeah, Chris, you little. We'll talk off the air.
Joey's the one who mocked Sutton to the Chiefs. It's just Joey's fault, not mine. I also have Sutton to the Chiefs in my mock. You could say it's a case of collusion or whatever, but
I truly think that you have something behind this. You're like Dr. Evil on Austin Powers.
Yeah, except I have Austin's hair. So, well, maybe not exactly Austin's look, but my hair is similar. All right.
Wow, okay. So let's see here. I would say, who is the best wideout right now?
Well, the Bengals have Tyler Boyd. They have Brandon LaFell. They have A.J. Green. They have John Ross, who they're going to move to corners. So the best wide receiver on the board at this point is Equanimous, and that's who you're going to give the Bengals because you're a huge Equanimous fan.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I feel like at some point they need like a playmaker again. Because remember what it was like when they had Ocho Cinco and DJ Gonzalez?
Yeah. So we're going Equanimous here?
Yes.
All right, that pick is finalized here. And I know the Bengals are pretty deep. They also drafted Josh Malone last year, but you know what? What the hell? It's the third round. Nobody really cares after the first 2 rounds anyway. So the Broncos are up next, and the Broncos, they went with Baker Mayfield and Brian O'Neill out of Pittsburgh. So that's a very good draft. They get the QB they want. They get the offensive tackle they want. Malik is on the board if you want to get a linebacker for Denver. Malik Jefferson is there, as is Cameron.
Let's go ahead and get Malik. Let's do it. I like Malik.
All right, Malik Jefferson. We're going to take him here. Yeah, I know I need to.
Malik Jefferson develops underneath the Broncos system, and he becomes that much more aggressive. And
yeah,
he's able to use those instincts in a type of way.
Yep. The Redskins are up next. And the Washington Redskins, we went with Vita Vea and Derwin James with those first 2 picks. We're going to go with I'm going to go with a left guard here because Washington needs a left guard. We're going to go Will Hernandez out of UTEP. He needs to get drafted.
You know, I think Tracy would love that pick. I like that pick too.
All right, so we're going to go Will Hernandez to Washington. And the Dolphins are on the board. And they needed a guard too. So we were able to make Tracy happy and piss Thomas off in the process.
Yep, I agree. This is a very Christmas energy.
All right, so now that we've managed to make Tracy happy and to piss Thomas off in the process, let's look at what they've done. They got Josh Allen at 14. They got Will Clapp as a guard, or center/guard, but they get him as a center. They need a tight end. And Fumagalli, I'm thinking, is the guy we're going to get, Josh Allen. And we're going to keep building that Dolphins offense up. Or do you have a different idea in mind?
I like Fumagalli.
All right. We'll go Fumagalli here. Yeah, next up we've got Oakland, and then we got Arizona, then Oakland. So Arizona picks, then Oakland. Arizona, first round Arizona went Josh Jackson. Second round they went Mason Rudolph. So I thought about giving them Darius Geis just to torture their fan base because David Johnson can't stay healthy, but we didn't do that. We didn't stoop to that level. So they got Mason Rudolph in the second round. The Cardinals did at 46, and we're going to go with Dante Pettis, best receiver on the board. We're not going to overthink this. It's probably a terrible pick, but we're going to go with Dante Pettis here.
All right.
And the Raiders are up. They went Tremaine Edmonds round 1. They went Harold Landry round 2. So they're set at middle linebacker. They're set at the defensive end position. The best player on the board is P.J. Hall, the defensive tackle for Sam Houston State. Is this what we're going to do here? Is this the player we're going to go with here?
You know, I agree. Let's go. I like to say that Sam Houston.
All right, we'll go P.J. Hall here. Next up, we have we have got the Chargers at. They're up. Chargers first round. The Chargers went with Christian Wilkins. Second round, they went with Deshaun. I think it was Deshaun Elliott that they went with here as a safety. No, wait. Joey gave him a corner. That's right. So the Chargers still haven't picked a safety yet. So Joey cursed the Chargers. That makes you feel a little bit better that he didn't get the Chargers' biggest need to be safety, but Joey gave them a corner. I believe it was Jair Alexander. So
You know, that makes me
Wait,
feel
we could
like
go with Quinn Blanding, the Virginia safety. He's on the board. The Chargers haven't taken a safety yet. He's on the board. That's a good pick for them if they want to go that route in the 3rd round. Quinn Blanding. What do you think of that pick? Do you want to go with a different player? Do you have someone else besides Blanding in mind?
No, I feel like we should do it.
So Quinn Blanding it is then. All right. We went with cornerback because we went with outside linebacker and cornerback with the Packers' first 2 picks. I went with a pass rusher. I went with Davenport, and then I went with the LSU corner I told you about, Dante Jackson. I'm trying to find a receiver for Lisa's Packers at this point, and nothing is showing up. All of the centers are gone. All of the well, there's some centers on the board we could get. We could get Lisa center, but all the receivers are off the board. All of the guards are off the board that I like at this point. So, and I'm picking for the Packers. I could go Deion Kane, but I'm not going to go that route. Deion Kane had a bit of a down year, but he is the top receiver on the board. So we're going to go with Bradley Bozeman out of Alabama. And Packers, I feel like they're not going to take Bozeman, though. But you know what? In this mock, screw it. We're giving them Bozeman.
I was about to say, in this mock, we are breaking some stuff right now, folks, because I feel like you realize they did not do that.
And I'm guessing Ryan would agree to disagree with me on this pick, this selection, but right now, that's the direction I'm leaning. The top next pick belongs to the I believe it belongs to Brad Noble's Texans. I believe it belongs to Brad Noble's Houston Texans. And we went with that first pick with the Texans, we went with Martez Ivey as a guard. So we could go with Peter Kalembai as a 34 outside linebacker for depth. He's the best player on the board. The Texans have a good center, but most of the offensive tackles, they could go. Jamarco Jones is available, though. If we want to reload on the offensive line, we could go Jamarco Jones. We could also go with Hyatt, like we did on FanSpeak the other day.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Who would be the best available linebacker?
Peter Kalembai out of Stanford's the best overall player on the board, but he's a pass rusher. The best overall inside linebacker is Cameron Smith out of USC.
You know, I feel like we would do Brad Noble justice by picking Cameron Smith.
All right, then we'll go with Cameron Smith here. All right, so Cameron Smith provides that competition for Zach Cunningham, and he reminds me a little bit of Brian Cushing. So that's a good pick for the Texans. Moving on here, we've got the I think it's the Cowboys. I think we have Cowboys pick next. They went with a wide receiver. They went with no wait, they didn't go with a receiver. We went with Rashaan Evans in the first round as a linebacker, and we went with Darius Geis for depth behind Elliott. So the Cowboys have not taken a receiver yet. They're keeping Des Bryant. They're keeping their weapons. And Kerm can say, yes, I was right. I told you guys so. And, yeah. So the Cowboys, I'm looking to see what we could do with the Cowboys here. They're going to go with either a corner or a safety. The best corner on the board is Adonis Alexander. And I know you're a huge fan of him, so we're going to go with Adonis here.
I feel like the Cowboys would like him, and they would develop him very well because he's a playmaker. He's explosive, and that's that Cowboys explosive ideology of get that ball and make some plays, baby.
I've always preferred cover corners over ball hawks who get interceptions. I like cover corners that blanket the receivers consistently. I mean, ball hawk corners can make the big plays, but they also give up big plays when they miss their assignments. But they'll make big plays.
On the last pick with Packers, there was an anonymous fan who had booed in on this call. It was not me, but on this particular pick, they're not booing. They're cheering. So.
Yep. So, well, with the Packers, we went Dante Jackson round 1. We went with Davenport UTSA round 2. This pick, the Ravens are on the clock now, and then the Lions will be on the clock. But the Ravens are on the clock here. The Ravens went with Anthony Johnson in the first round. and then they doubled up at wide receiver with Jake Wieneke. So the Ravens have doubled up at wide receiver. We're gonna give them Sean Dion Hamilton out of Alabama. He's an inside linebacker, suffered a season-ending injury, but he's better than Correa in my personal opinion. So we're gonna give them Hamilton. Oh wait, you're supposed to pick for the Ravens. Oops. But yeah, you can pick for the next team, which is the Lions. I picked for the Ravens, but for you by accident, so you can pick for the Lions. And they went with the linebacker. They haven't taken a defensive tackle yet, though. They went with a linebacker, and I gave the Titans
perfect, because I did a top 10 defensive tackle ranking, if you recall. So let's go ahead and draft ourselves a defensive tackle, right?
Yeah, because the Lions, hear me out for a second. I gave the Lions tight end Mark Andrews out of Oklahoma because Eric Ebron had an expiring contract. So I basically wasted the Lions' first-round pick on a tight end. So now they still don't have a defensive tackle. They still don't have a running back, and it's the third round of the draft. So, yeah, the Lions are not very happy right now.
So we got to make them happy.
We got to find out, do we go with a defensive tackle or do we go with a running back here? Because there's a lot of good running backs they could get on day 3. The top defensive tackle on my board is Derek Minotti out of Florida State, but I feel like he's a reach at this point. But there's other defensive tackles that you liked. So I'm going to let you pick for the Lions since I picked for the Ravens, even though it was your pick and that was a dick move. So I'm going to let you pick for the Lions and let you go through your defensive tackle rankings, even though they're different from mine. And we'll pick the best.
Who are the top 3? Who are the top 3 defensive tackles right now, Bill?
On my draft game, the top 3 are Draymond Jones, Iowa State, the guy from Florida State, and Dalen Mack out of Texas A&M. Those are the top 3 on my board.
I'm gonna go with Dalen Mack because I like his size, his speed. I don't know. There's something special about this kid where I feel like he's going to be a playmaker and somebody that can stuff that middle.
Yeah, he had a dominant freshman year with Myles Garrett. He did well as a sophomore too, but he dropped off the map this year. And people are sort of forgetting about what he's capable of. He was a 2018 first-round pick back in 2016. So Dalen Mack in round 3. I know Lions fans aren't happy that we basically gave him a guy we have a 4th-round grade on, but tough break. That's what happens when I skip Ryan's pick and decide to be an a-hole. All right, moving on, we've got the
No, Chris, you got to remember, we gave him a guy that's 6'1", 320. That's pretty similar to this guy. They get a guy that's
when I first saw him on tape 2 years ago, Vince Wilfork was my exact comp, but he sort of fizzled and he hasn't done as well this year. Maybe it's because he's getting more triple teams with Garrett out. Maybe it's just he's not as conditioned well, but we'll see. We'll see. He got outmanned by Bozeman, but that might be a testament to Bozeman. So, yeah. Moving on, we've got the...
Well, and I mean, I guess my thing though, Chris, is he's always going to be able to get sacks. He's going to be able to get tackles for the loss. He can be productive. He's explosive. I feel like right now we need to be able to let Lions fans know that we got them a guy who's going to be like a Dominican Zoo, only without attitude.
Yeah, well, we passed on Duke Ejiofor out of Wake Forest, who would have been great to pair up with Zettel if Ansah left. And I'm sure the Lions fans are pissed off about this draft so far. We take a tight end in the 1st round, that's on me. 2nd round, we went with a linebacker to replace Whitehead. Lions fans are like, okay, fine, we can live with that. 3rd round, it's like, oh, we passed on Ejiofor for Dalen Mack. Yeah, Lions fans hate us. They actually want to throw us in a zoo with lions, and you're basically telling the Lions to eat Chris. He's an asshole. He's Dr. Evil. Don't eat me. I'm good. I can get you some cheeseburgers at McDonald's. I can just imagine us being stranded in a zoo, and Joey's like, go ahead, eat both of them. They're both assholes. They're both assholes. I'm going to drink this beer while these lions devour Chris and Ryan.
For the record, yes, I would tell you out to the Lions. And yes, Joey, I would figure out a way to get you too.
What, you wouldn't try to figure out how to get Joey involved in the zoo so you could escape free.
I love Lions, Chris, and you guys started that draft terribly.
Yeah, we did. And they still need a defensive end. They still need a running back. And it's mainly my fault because I gave them a tight end. Eric Ebron's a free agent, and Mark Andrews at Oklahoma was the best player on my board, so I gave them a tight end just to create some fuckery, and the rest is history. But the Titans are on the clock. They took Arden Key in the first round. They went with a cornerback, or they went with a I don't remember what they did in the second round. I think they went with a receiver. Yeah, we gave them Lazard to pair up with Corey Davis. Not the best pick, but whatever. I know you're a fan of it, so we went with Arden Key and Lazard for the Titans. And best player on the board at this point has got to be Peter Kalembai. He's a pass rusher out of Stanford, but we're not going to double up and get the Titans 2 pass rushing linebackers. But Kalembai is a linebacker. He can play outside or inside. He's the best player on the board. You just want to go with that, or you want to wait? Peter Kalembai is the best player on the board out of Stanford. Are we going to go with him, or are we going to take someone else here?
Who else is there?
Well, we gave the Titans Arden Key in the first round as a pass rusher. We went Al Lazard in the second round. So there's no guards there for the Titans. We could get them Jamarco Jones as a guard, I guess. He's still on the board. They really don't need any offensive tackle help, but they could get Jamarco Jones as a guard, I guess.
Now, Chris, when it comes to the Titans,
they could get Duke Dawson, the Florida Gators corner. He's on the board. He's the top corner on the board.
Can he play safety as well?
No. Now, the top safety. Well, there's Chase Hansen out of Utah. He's a tackling machine at strong safety. He could provide some depth behind Denoris Searcy, I guess.
I feel like we should get him because I feel like if he's good at tackling, we can make him possibly a situational guy.
All right. Chase Hansen it is. And that leaves the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills, we went Payne and Oliver in the first round. Second round, we went with a receiver in the second round. I think we gave the Bills Cobbs in the second round with the first pick. And then the second pick, I don't remember what we did with the second pick. I think we gave the Bills Nick Chubb with that second pick. So that's the Bills' outlook so far. They still don't have a quarterback yet. Are we going to reach for a quarterback here, even if they're graded lower than most? Or no?
I'm going to say they don't go quarterback, so I feel like we could snag one up later.
All right. We could get Jamarco Jones as a guard. We get Hyatt as an offensive tackle. They have Cordy Glenn, but he hasn't stayed healthy the last 2 years. And at this point, I really can't fault you for getting the Bills an offensive tackle. They could go with a center. They could go with a linebacker, the top linebacker on the board. Up inside linebacker. I don't know if there is an inside linebacker worth taking here, but you could get Ejiofor with Shaq Lawson not being able to stay healthy. There's a lot of options in play for the Buffalo Bills. What are you thinking at this point with Buffalo?
You know, I feel like let's go ahead and get them an offensive tackle since their guy keeps getting hurt so much.
Do we go with Jamarco Jones or Hyatt? Who do you want here? Jamarco Jones to Buffalo it is. Yeah, and
well, Chris, why do you not sound sold on that pick?
I actually really like the pick because he can play guard. He can play any of the 5 spots in the offensive line. It's a nice pick. I actually like the pick a lot. I mean, I may have hesitated, but I actually do really like that pick a lot.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I might do with him.
Yeah, I actually like that pick. That's a good pick. The Atlanta Falcons, I honestly have no idea what to do with the Falcons. We went Ronnie Harrison round 1. We went with I can't even remember what we did in the second round. We went with Taven Bryan to make Scott Cars, like that Falcons fan, happy. So we went defensive tackle. We went safety. You know what? Let's go with Carter. No. Trying to think of who we could get. We're gonna go Duke Ejiofor for depth in a situational role in round 3. That just feels like someone the Falcons could use. And first 2 rounds with Carolina, we went receiver, we went safety. We're going to go with a corner here, and we're going to go with Duke Dawson out of Florida. So that leaves us with number 25, the Kansas City Chiefs, or not 25, but the Kansas – wait, did the Chiefs – no. The Chiefs are – yeah, the Chiefs are 8-6, so they would pick in that number 90 – whatever spot, 88, I think, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92. So, yeah, they would pick at 89. The Chiefs are on the clock at 89. So, the Chiefs went with Sutton. What do they do here in the second round? Are we going to just give them the best player on the board because they've addressed all of their needs at this point? They can really take the best player on the board. And Ty Johnson might be the best player on the board at running back, but they got Kareem Hunt. So Peter Kalembai out of Stanford, the linebacker, he's an outside linebacker, but he's more of a 34 linebacker than anything else. Should we go with him here, Peter Kalembai, or?
Yeah, let's go with him.
All right, just get the best player off the board. All right, next up we've got the Saints. They're on the board here, and round 1, the Saints went with Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson as a defensive end. They could go with a defensive tackle. They could go with a linebacker. They could go with a quarterback. All the quarterbacks are off the board. We could go with Luke Falk here. Luke Falk struggled versus California with the 5-interception game, but he's on the board if you want to take him behind Breeze.
Well, you know me, of course, because I feel like he would be good to learn behind Breeze because he has that same goatee mentality.
All right, so Luke Falk gets picked by the Saints in the 3rd round here, and we're doing this just because it's the holiday season. So number 80, so number 90 was Luke Falk. That means that the Jaguars are up at 91. I was picking for the I was supposed to pick for the Saints, but I wasn't sure who to take in that situation. So I let Ryan pick, and we went with a quarterback because he had a quarterback going to the Saints in the 1st round. So we mixed it up. I will pick for the Jaguars then, or unless you want to pick for Jacksonville, because right now in the 1st round, Joey went with Bo Benchuel, the Wisconsin guard, and then we went with Deontay Burnett, the USC receiver, in the 2nd round. There really isn't much on the board that fills a need for the Jaguars. They're sort of in a position where they can take the best player on their board. They haven't drafted a tight end yet. No, that's one thing they could get here. What are you thinking as far as tight ends go? Are you looking at Serigne or Goddard? You want either one of those tight ends here at this point? I know I need to move them up on my draft game. I know putting them in the 130s is a disservice to both of them, but at the same time, I probably do need to move both of those tight ends up, but at the same time, do you like Serigne or Goddard at this point in late round 3 for Jacksonville, or is there another route you want to go with here?
You know, I guess I'll go with your direction on this, Chris, because I feel like he knows a lot about Jacksonville.
I don't know which tight end we should pick. Should we go Serigne or Goddard?
Goddard.
Yeah, Goddard. I'm going to move Goddard up to the 3rd round. I have him in the 3rd round of my 3rd round mock draft I did in November. I have a 3rd round grade on him, but again, if he outshines Brenneman and Foe Magali like all the experts say he will, I probably will move Goddard up a lot. So, yeah, he goes off the board here at 91, and then at 92, the Rams finally pick again. They went with Okorafor in the 1st round. We're going to go with I'm just thinking here because we're going to go with a center. We're going to go Jesse Burkett And Jesse Burkett's a mammoth run blocker, so if you put him with Gurley, Gurley can have 2,000 rushing yards, and Goff can just manage the freaking game. So we went with a pass blocking left tackle, or pass blocking right tackle, who could be the left tackle of the future in Okorafor in round 1. We went with a run blocking center in round 3. So if we get a run blocking center and a pass blocking right tackle to complement our left tackle, we're building a great balance on both sides of the ball, and we're allowing the Rams to maintain that balanced mentality where they give it to Gurley half the time, they let Goff throw it the other half, and we don't take them out of that comfort zone they're in. So that's going to allow them to thrive moving forward. Clock. What they did, day 1, they got Orlando Brown. Day 2, they got Riley Ferguson. They spent a second-round pick on Riley Ferguson, who we have a 4th-round grade on. But what should Pittsburgh do here? The best player on the board is running back Ty Johnson out of Maryland, who Mark told me about. He's the best player on the board, and Mark told me about him. He had a great September start, but he's fizzled since.
All right, let's go ahead and trust Mark right now.
Yeah, we're going to go Ty Johnson, best player on the board for Pittsburgh. Minnesota Vikings, I made you very happy when I drafted your #1 defensive tackle, Maurice Hurst, who ironically is Chris Robbins' #1 defensive tackle, and he's a huge Lions fan. So because I took Mark Andrews at number 18, the Vikings got Maurice Hurst at number 30. All because of my evil stunt to give the Lions a tight end in the 1st round. But the Vikings are back on the clock. They went with a corner in the 2nd round. They went with the Vikings went with a defensive tackle and a corner in their first 2 picks. The best player on the board is outside linebacker Marquise Haynes out of Ole Miss. The Vikings are sort of one of these teams that can take the best player on the board. They could also draft Mitch Hyatt and develop him as an offensive tackle. They could develop Hyatt, and it is my pick. So I'm going to give the Vikings the best player on the board. I'm just not sure who to give them. This is one of the teams that frustrates me, but I'm just going to give them the best player on the board as an outside linebacker, Marcus Haynes. The Patriots, Tarv Fadden, he gave them a wide receiver in round 2. He gave them the best wide receiver on the board. In that 2nd round pick, he gave them an offensive tackle, or he gave Wyatt Teller. He didn't give him an offensive tackle. He gave him Wyatt Teller. So you're picking for my Patriots. Do we go Hyatt here? Do we get him as competition for Garcia and depth? Because we're sort of thin on offensive tackle right now because we cut Connor McDermott. The Patriots get Hyatt here or no?
I feel like you should pick for the Patriots because they're your team, man.
Thank you, Ryan. You can pick for the.
Right now, I would just pick the best available player on the board.
All right, let's take a look at the best player on the board. The best player on the board is Georgia pass rusher Lorenzo Carter, and he is a 34 guy. I don't know if he fits what Belichick wants to do, but he is the best player on the board.
All right, who's next?
Hyatt is next. I don't want Hyatt. Got Trey Williams out of Auburn, so he can play multiple linebacker positions. He can play all 3 linebacker spots.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that then.
Let's
do the guy that can do multiple linebacker spots.
Yeah.
That way.
So we'll go with Trey Williams out of Auburn.
Free agency, etc.
And then the Eagles, they traded this pick at 96 to the Bills. This will be the last pick in our draft game. We're going to go Mike McCray here out of Michigan to wrap up this game because he can do a lot of the same things Williams does.
No, I feel like they go somewhere else. I feel like they might go quarterback.
There's no quarterbacks on the board, and they've already took Oliver. They've got White.
So they did take Oliver.
Yeah, in the first round.
Okay. Now, Chris, hear me out. I feel like their offense is set, but they need to lose games. I mean, what else is available as far as defense what they need?
There's another linebacker on the board in case they lose. That's Quentin Pauling out of Ohio. one of their defensive captains.
Yep.
You liked him.
I guess let's go with him then.
Yeah, I know Mark's going to be pissed, but you did your job. Good job with the draft. And Quentin Pauling to Buffalo at 96. The following players did not get selected on day 2 of the NFL draft. Mike McCray did not get selected on day 2. Coleman Shelton was at round 3 grade. He fell to day 3 in this draft game we did. Derek Nottie fell. Tyquan Lewis fell. Amari Coleman fell. He deserves to fall after that horrific bowl game. Micah Kaiser fell. Devin Davis, who we interviewed, should have been picked on day 2. Probably will get picked in either the compensation range or some point in round 3, but this is just the first 96 picks. We're not going to do the compensation picks today. I want to thank you very much for calling into this show, Ryan. Kickoff starts in 5 minutes on Christmas Eve, so yeah, we're going to sign off officially as I get ready for kickoff. Thank you guys from the Utopia of Sports. I will be back one day later this week. Haven't decided when. I'm going to try to do an MLS interview. I might do a show tomorrow night after the 2 Christmas Day games, a Christmas Week 16 recap, maybe. Haven't decided yet. And then we've got a Friday show and a New Year's Eve show planned out, so a lot to get to this week. So long from the Utopia of Sports. This is Chris Ransom signing off. Enjoy your Sunday afternoons.
Call recording has been completed.
I'm still on Google+, but kickoff is in 5 minutes, and I am going to show people that we got up to Mike McCray. So everybody in our top 89 got drafted on the draft game. So that's it for the Google Hangout as well.